Chapter 23:13. The Blue Dragon. The azure dragon image was eye-catching and clear. Unlike the dragon images of the past, the azure dragon image behind Xiao Chun looked very realistic. The scales were lifelike, and the fine details could be seen clearly. There was a spiritual light in its eyes, and it was vivid and lifelike. The pure royal blue dragon's dragon might made Xiao Chun look like a living ancient divine dragon behind him. This was the effect of the 10,000 dragons art breaking through to the third layer. The 10,000 dragons merged into one, and the royal genealogical record of Xiao Chen's true name. The moment this blue dragon appeared, all the princes and guests in the core region could not help looking over. The royal blue dragon's dragon might spread to every corner. It was like water or mist, real and ethereal. After the dragon might entered the bodies of the various cultivators, it brought fear and trembling. It was hard not to notice it. This, Sikong Shu and the Silver Dragon King, who had agreed to attack Wang Fei together with the 8th prince, were stunned. Their bloodlines were noble, far surpassing those of ordinary Great Desolate Ian bloodline outstanding talents. They were very clear on how extraordinary Xiao Chen's dragon might was. A mixed blood dragon? Is this really a mixed blood dragon? I don't believe it. The Silver Dragon King's voice trembled slightly. His grade 7 Silver Dragon bloodline actually felt some fear. It was like the Silver Dragon King wanted to see a dragon, wanting to kneel and prostrate. This was extremely absurd. Although the other divine beast bloodline outstanding talents also felt fear in the depths of their hearts, they were not as fearful as the dragon race cultivators. Azure? Could it be that lost divine dragon bloodline? Sikong Shu thought of some secret records in the Bushin Palace. His expression changed, becoming uncertain. The sovereign emperor powerhouses in the palace clearly noticed the difference in the azure dragon image behind Xiao Chun. Interesting. This is already the dragon might of a king divine dragon. However, the 6 color divine dragons do not have a blue dragon. There were rumors in the past that the divine dragons had 7 color divine dragons 50,000 years ago. However, it seems like someone purposely erased these rumors. Even the various holy lands only have scattered records, so no one knows what happened. Who in this martial epic is so capable? You can force the various superpowers to make this a taboo? Strange things have happened one after another in this year's Crown Prince election. I wonder what kind of omen this is. The various feudal lords and aristocratic family bigwigs were puzzled. At the same time, they had a bad premonition. There were also some big shots who wore grave expressions and did not dare to speak. Although the Blue Dragon's past was not a taboo, the factions that had existed for tens of thousands of years still knew about it. They also knew who had erased the news. This was the horrifying existence that stood at the peak of the martial epic, the one that no one dared to talk about or defy. But now the Blue Dragon bloodline, which had been wiped out by that person, actually had a survivor. How could these people who knew the secret not feel terrified and uneasy, not daring to say anything? When the Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor saw the azure-colored dragon image in the palace in the clouds, he felt slightly stunned. Then he smiled calmly and said, "The martial epic is indeed at its end. Even the race that person personally wiped out reappeared. How weak is he now?" However, the Yin Emperor, who was restrained by a group of elders, could not smile. It looked like the Yinwu dynasty could not avoid the great calamity that the Hidden Spirit Temple's abbot mentioned. Damn it, why do these people think that the demonic Dao Hall will listen to their whims? Inside the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, Xiao Chun circulated the 10,000 dragons' art in his body. Waves roared in his vast divine energy sea, forming thousands of different dragon images. Xiao Chun did not give Wang Fei a chance to attack again. The instant the azure-colored dragon image appeared, he soared into the air. Boom! Countless dragon images shot out of Xiao Chen's divine energy sea and entered the azure-colored dragon image. The dragon might of the azure-colored dragon image behind Xiao Chun's sword. Its ferocious roar shook the surroundings. 10,000 dragons returned to one. As Shao Chun soared into the air, he gently stomped on the dynasty's sword chi that Xiao Suo and the other four blocked. Cracks already appeared in the dynasty's sword chi. It was like Shao Chun had turned into a blue dragon. When he stomped, the towering azure-colored dragon image merged with him, and the dragon claw attached to his leg. When Shao Chun stomped, it looked like an ancient blue dragon had clawed at this sword light materialized by the 100,000-year-old dynasty's accumulations. Kasie, the sword light, which already cracked in the first place, instantly shattered. A dynasty turned to ashes before everyone's shocked gazes. Pusii. Above the altar, the originally unrestrained, unruly, and arrogant first prince vomited blood and fell heavily. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell heavily onto the ground. The holy light that was as resplendent as the sun dimmed at an unbelievable speed. The kingship Tao was like this. The first prince could grow stronger quickly and weaken even faster. The somewhat dumbfounded Wang Fei kept falling, his mind blank. First prince, don't panic. While his stomp looked casual, he actually stored up power for a long time. He will not be able to unleash such a horrifying strike within a short time. Quickly destroy the remaining two altars while the kingship Tao's might is still resplendent. At the crucial moment, Lord Shi's voice was like a hammer to Wang Fei's head, rousing him to his senses. Right, that's right. I still have a chance. If I want to make up for my current injuries, I have to continue plundering. I cannot lose. I cannot lose. Wang Fei revealed a crazed expression in his eyes. Just as he was about to fall off the altar, he let out a heart-wrenching cry. Those who submit to me prosper. Those who oppose me die. The originally tyrannical words that Wang Fei roared out sounded somewhat tragic and crazy in his mouth. The resplendent holy light materialized by the kingship Tao on the altar suddenly extinguished. Wang Fei's eyes turned bloodshot. When he thrust his sword, he used his great Tao energy, divine energy, soul energy, everything he had on this final sword strike. After Wang Fei sent out this sword strike, he seemed to age 100 years. His eyes turned scarlet. He forced himself into a desperate situation. Xiao, the dynasty sword light that burst out of the Yin imperial sword split into two, charging towards the altars of the 6th prince and the 11th prince. The two streams of dynasty's sword light carried Wang Fei's everything. His will, his ambition, his madness, and even his life. It was even stronger than the sword light that the 9th prince faced earlier. The expressions of the 11th prince and the 6th prince changed dramatically. Their faces turned the color of chicken liver at the same time. He was still thinking that the 9th prince would block the sword for him and buy some time for the two of them, which was why he was secretly delighted. But now, he even had the thought of dying. The earlier scene proved that the first prince was terrifyingly strong. Just his aura alone rivaled that of a peak 7-vein sovereign emperor. However, this also meant that he wasn't so strong that he was unreasonable and undefeatable. As long as the brothers were of one mind, had the courage to go through life and death together, had the courage to press forward with indomitable will, and had the incessant boiling blood, they would be able to withstand this sword. However, the 11th prince and the 6th prince could not afford a bet on it. Their guests could not be as determined as Xiao Suo and the others. No one dared to be sure that the others would not abandon them. If they tried to forcefully receive the sword, they would end up dying miserably. The two did not dare to bet on it. They said unwillingly at nearly the same time, "Retreat." Boom! In an instant, the two altars shattered, and two shockingly large amounts of dragon essence surged out. Two startlingly vast dragon essence surged towards Wang Fei like a hurricane. Ha ha! Ha ha! Wang Fei stopped falling amid maniacal laughter and slowly rose up. The originally extinguished holy light on the altar flared up with an even more resplendent light. This sword strike not only allowed Wang Fei to return his peak, but also brought him to a higher level. We can't wait anymore. Kill! The 8th prince and the 13th prince, who had been watching, paled in fright when they saw this scene. They no longer dared to wait. They had to fight to the death. They had already reached a point where only one side could survive. The first prince had already forced them to the edge of a cliff. They had to fight even if they did not want to. Wang Fei smiled disdainfully, not caring at all. He said indifferently, "Block them." The mysterious man, Shi, waved his sleeve, and the azure lotus holy daughter and the black face holy daughter led a few demonic Tao experts over. A frenzied battle between sovereign emperors instantly started at lightning speed. Be it the 8th prince's subordinates, the divine sword pavilions Dao Yin and the profound heaven holy sun Wen Rinyu, or the 13th prince's subordinates, the silver dragon king and Sikong Shu, they could all be considered super experts. They possessed extremely horrifying strength. Any one of them could turn the ancient Yin emperor tomb upside down. Now, these people worked together to charge at the first prince. At this point, the succession race had slowly spiraled out of control, inspiring fear in the spectators for some reason. Xiao Chun, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Otherwise, who knows when I could break through the shackles of my King Dao domain. Wang Fei, whose strength had clearly improved, smiled as he looked at Xiao Chun. However, an extremely cold, murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Big brother, Xiao So, who had already landed on the altar, looked at Xiao Chun somewhat worriedly. Xiao Sua's entire body was covered in wounds. His right arm was nearly crippled as it swayed weakly. Wu Meng and the others paled as they supported Xiao Sua. They were in a similarly bad state. Xiao Chun, who had the blue dragon wrapped around him, looked at Wang Fei expressionlessly. His thoughts raced. This Wang Fei was indeed a ruthless person. In a sure-death situation, he actually tried to escape death. When facing a stronger opponent, Xiao Chun could not think of any other way to fight aside from drawing Heavenly Slayer, not to mention the Dragon's Gate forbidden art. However, Xiao Chun had already drawn Heavenly Slayer to help Wang Yin out earlier, draining most of his divine energy and soul energy. Shattering Heavenly Slayer with his foot had drained him significantly as well. Xiao Chun had not recovered yet. If he drew Heavenly Slayer, a soul tool that rivaled a superior grade soul tool, he would definitely overdraw on his physical body and injure his foundations. Furthermore, even if he drew Heavenly Slayer, his chances of victory were only 50%. Should I draw this saber or not? Draw. Xiao Chun, who was conflicted in his mind, made his decision without hesitation. Heavenly Slayer reappeared in his hand. Then he held it horizontally in front of Xiao Chun, grasping its hilt. Big brother, you can't draw the saber anymore. Xiao Sua shouted hoarsely, his expression changing slightly when he saw the situation on the altar. A soul tool. The word forbidden distinguished it from ordinary secret treasures. Naturally, Xiao Chun could not attack recklessly. Otherwise, he would have drawn his saber long ago and killed until the sky turned dark. In a holy flame, Wang Yin, who was anxiously refining his Yin imperial sword, opened his eyes. When he saw Xiao Chen's actions, his expression changed dramatically. You can't, however, right after Wang Yin spoke, a saber light interrupted him. Then, Wang Yin drew Heavenly Slayer. The dazzling saber light looked like the blazing sun. When the saber was drawn by 1 centimeter, the sky shattered by 3 meters. Bearing the honor of the ruler, I draw my saber for the ruler. Chapter 23:14. Bearing the loyalty of a ruler, I draw my saber for a ruler. Right after Wang Fei spoke, he completely drew Heavenly Slayer. Heavenly Slayer, which rivaled a superior grade soul tool, was forged from demonic tribulation lightning metal and infused with the ancient Thunder Dragon True Soul. It was perfectly compatible with Xiao Chen's Thunder Dao, containing the Heavenly Dao's killing intent. If Xiao Chun drove Heavenly Slayer at full power, it could destroy the sky, make the sun and moon dim, and make the stars fall. Xiao Chun had already demonstrated its unparalleled might once. When he drew Heavenly Slayer, he killed 5 princes with 1 saber strike. Once the Heavenly Dao's killing intent was brought out, it would not kill but injure. When Xiao Chun sensed the vast energy contained in the saber, he infused his soul energy and divine energy into it, not holding back at all as he drove this saber with all his might. The withdrawn heavenly Tao's killing intent immediately manifested, spreading out in the sky, ready to be unleashed. Kill! Without hesitation, Xiao Chun held the saber in his hand and turned into a flash of purple electric light, appearing around Wang Fei. Good move. I'll make sure you never return. Wang Fei worried that he would not be able to take the initiative to fight Xiao Chun after he left the altar's dragon luck. Who could have imagined that the other party would use a soul tool to charge over? If this was not seeking death, what was? In this ancient Yin Emperor tomb, no soul tool could compare to the sovereign Tao Yin Imperial sword in his hand. Dang, dang, dang. When the saber and sword clashed, Xiao Chun brought out his saber techniques to their fullest. In an instant, Xiao Chun exchanged hundreds of moves. His saber aura firmly suppressed Wang Fei. Before Xiao Chun, Wang Fei's sword techniques were riddled with openings. In just a few breaths, Wang Fei's body was covered in wounds. He bled profusely, covered in the marks left by Heavenly Slayer. However, Wang Fei did not care. His injuries healed at a visible pace, and he instantly recovered. He instantly recovered to his original state. Even though he was at a disadvantage, he did not cower in the slightest. Humph! It is impossible for you to kill me in this ancient Yin Emperor tomb. I already obtained the acknowledgement of the dynasty's dragon vein. My great Tao perfectly merged with the dragon vein. Here I am heaven. Wang Fei ignored his horrifying injuries. Despite clearly being at a disadvantage, he continued suppressing Xiao Chun. Amid the maniacal laughter, the dragon image materialized by the dynasty's dragon vein appeared arrogant and despotic, bearing its fangs and claws. They clashed with the azure dragon around Xiao Chun, fighting each other. The two of them fought in the sky. The azure dragon image and the golden dragon bloodline incarnation covered the entire sky of the core region. It covered the vast starry sky, triggering boundless phenomena. Gales, lightning, and thunder rumbled without end. Xiao Chun frowned slightly. The other party held too much of an advantage in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Xiao Chun had perfectly merged with the dynasty's dragon vein, already gaining the acknowledgement of this world. Now, he could use the Yinwu dynasty's accumulations of more than 100,000 years at any time. As he said, stabbing him 1,000 times would be no different from scratching an itch as long as he wasn't heavily injured. On the other hand, if he were to be struck by the other party's sword, even his blue dragon divine body might not be able to withstand it. This situation was simply like cheating. If not for Tian Slayer clashing with the other party's Yin Imperial sword, Xiao Chun would not be able to fight such an enemy. He could only stay far away. All he needed to do was wait for a sure kill opening. With Heavenly Slayer in his hands, there was hope. The battle between the two was already intense enough. However, the battle below was even more bloody and brutal. The 8th Prince's and the 13th Prince's guests charged towards the altar at the same time. The Azure Lotus Holy Daughter and the Black Lotus Church Holy Son led people to block them. Close to 40 Great Perfection sovereign emperors attacked frantically. There is no lack of super experts like Dao Yin, Wen Rinyu, the Silver Dragon King, and Si Kong Shu. In the chaotic battle, killing moves and soul tools appeared. Great desolate Ian bloodlines were activated, and boundless demonic chi surged out. At this point, the succession race already concerned life and death, honor and honor. The 8th Prince and the 13th Prince had to gamble everything for that tiny chance. The two's obsession and desire for the crown prince far surpassed that of the other princes. Naturally, their guests were not willing to lose. Dao Yin, who comprehended an ice-small world, relied on his 10th layer doubt domain to move about without fear, advancing rapidly. No one could match him more than 3 times. Just when Dao Yin thought that he could charge over, a monk with handsome features and a lotus-like air stopped him. A monk with delicate features and a lotus-like air stopped Xiao Chun. This was the former Holy Son, the current Black Lotus sect venerate, Ming Xian. Scram! Dao Yin showed a cold and emotionless expression as he threw a palm strike. A soul-deep chill surged out. A 10th-layer Dao domain was extremely horrifying. A regular great perfection sovereign emperor would find it hard to block this move. Their Dao domains would instantly shatter. Secret technique. Destroy. Ming Xian did not panic. He placed his thumb on the tip of his index finger and formed a hand seal with one hand. Then, he gently pushed forward. Immediately, boundless Buddhist might surged over and extinguished the incoming chill, regardless of whether it was materialized or directed at the soul. Dao Yin felt slightly stunned. When he saw the indistinct Black Lotus Church venerate image behind Ming Xian, he suddenly understood. So, it is a sinful disciple of the Buddhist sect. Humph. Originally, Dao Yin planned to use his ice small world on the mysterious black-clad man who had yet to make a move. Dao Yin snorted coldly, and the ice small world appeared, encasing Ming Xian. Ming Xian looked around. He could clearly see the figures of the others in the surroundings. However, he could clearly feel that there was a hazy boundary between him and these people. It was like they were in two different worlds. Of course, that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that Ming Xian felt immense pressure from the world. It was like the world rejected Ming Xian, feeling incredibly unbearable. His Dao domain was completely suppressed. His soul energy and divine energy were restricted, unable to circulate smoothly. 10th layer Dao domain, how horrifying. Ming Xian carefully sensed the various discomforts in his body. However, he did not show any panic on his face. Before Dao Yan's strange gaze, Ming Xian pointed at his forehead. Immediately, a swastika appeared on his forehead. Those who oppose me will live. Whoosh! After the swastika reversed, the originally golden Buddhist light instantly turned black, and its Buddhist might became even stronger. An ancient Buddhist light traveled from the distant past, breaking the restrictions of the small world and landing on Ming Xian. The various discomforts instantly vanished. Then, Ming Xian smiled faintly and said, "With the support of this Buddhist light, even if I cannot defeat you, it is more than enough to block you. That will have to be tested before we know." Dao Yin showed a sullen expression. However, he was not satisfied with being blocked. Intense battles took place around the altar. The two princes worked together, carrying the momentum of a storm, wanting to destroy the first prince's altar in one go. Wang Fei sent out all the demonic Dao experts under him. However, he was at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. It looked like he would slowly fall into a disadvantage. However, she still did not intend to make a move. He swept his gaze around and looked into the distance. Damn it! Yin Songming cursed in his heart when he felt Shi's gaze. Then he looked at the sixth prince beside him and said, "Your Highness, you no longer have a chance. Please forgive this humble one for offending you. I have to follow the agreement and help the first prince ascend to the throne. Sorry for offending." Before the sixth prince could answer, Yin Songming led Jin Yuan and the many abyssal underworld experts far away. Wang Ming was stunned, his expression extremely unsightly. Unexpectedly, this group of people was so unreliable. Yin Songming did not stand a chance at all before being abandoned. Wang Ming's expression flickered. He felt very dissatisfied in his heart, but he did not do anything in the end. Whoosh! A figure appeared before Yin Songming. It was Grim Reaper Lin Feng. Xiaochen bought time for Wang Yan. He took the initiative to draw his saber and clash with the insufferably arrogant Wang Fei. If the battle was too intense, Xiaochen would not be able to interfere or help. However, the two princes clearly held the advantage. As long as they destroyed the altar, they could resolve Xiao Chen's predicament. Even if Xiao Chen could not block everyone, he could at least block Yin Songming. Zhen Yuan, bring them over to help. Leave this to me. Yin Songming instructed with a calm expression. Then he looked at Lin Feng. Zhen Yuan did not say a word. He led the other abyssal underworld sovereign emperors to the altar to help Wang Fei. Although Yin Songming had arrived, the appearance of Zhen Yuan's group greatly eased the pressure on the Black Lotus sect, Holy Sun, and the others. The slightly suppressed situation actually flipped around. The situation instantly turned for the better. Bang! Yin Songming and Lin Feng brought out their Death Dao domains to their limits. Dense black dragon patterns appeared on their faces. When their auras reached their peak, they instantly attacked and then retreated. A black state of death floated around the two, forming thousands of dark underworld flowers. Lin Feng looked at the black patterns swimming around his palm, feeling startled. To think that Yin Songming's strength has already reached such a level. Senior brother, you're not a match for me. Move aside. Yin Songming revealed a distant gaze on his calm face, not showing much hatred. Yin Songming continued in a somewhat hoarse voice. The gap between us can no longer be described with cultivation. I already touched the origin of death. I'm one of the players in this situation, but you are just a pawn. Given the situation, if you insist on going your own way, you will end up like Shao Chun when he draws his saber again. Only death awaits you. Lin Feng frowned slightly. He was here on Swearenji's orders to represent the Heavenly Alliance to help the 11th Prince. Lin Feng did not know about the deeper clash and chess game of the succession race in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. This succession race already touches on the direction of the epic cycle. It is not something you can understand. Yin Songming showed a stern expression. A vast and distant aura appeared in his eyes, like a boundless sea. Lin Feng smiled and said, I do not understand. I only know that Shao Chun is my friend. With you joining, the two princes will definitely lose. Since I want to help him, naturally, I have to stop you. You say that I do not understand, but how could I? I have always been your beloved junior brother. Yin Songming looked up. Wang Fei held the upper hand, like the heavenly Tao existed. On the other hand, Shao Chen's aura was no longer as strong as it was at the beginning. As this continued, danger loomed. Shao Chen said indifferently, It does not matter. When he chose to draw his saber again, he was destined to die today. This is fate. Whether you stop me or not, it will not change anything. I have a saber that can cleanse everything and illuminate 3 lifetimes. Just at this moment, something strange happened in the sky. A blue lotus bloomed under Shao Chen's feet. Time seemed to change as Shao Chen's figures split into 3. Each figure sent out a saber and pierced Wang Fei's chest. The 3 figures represented the past, the present, and the future. The 3 sabers intersected and slowly destroyed the first prince's vast life force. No matter how the dragon vein supported it, it could not reverse the situation. Wang Fei revealed an extremely incredulous expression. He could not understand how he got struck. Chapter 23:15. Cleansing the glory, illuminating 3 lives. 3 saber lights intersected above the altar, illuminated by resplendent holy light, and pierced through Wang Fei. Wang Fei's life force drained at a visible rate. No matter how much the dynasty's dragon vein replenished it with dragon essence, it could not slow down the loss of life force. The 3 figures slowly merged. It was like time and space layered over each other as many scenes flashed. These were Shao Chen's present, past, and future. However, the scenes were blurry and distorted, disappearing in a flash. One could not clearly see what was happening. No one had expected such a scene. From the very start, Shao Chun did not hold the advantage against Wang Fei, who had the dynasty's dragon vein. Practically no one felt that they could defeat Wang Fei. Even if they could not kill him. However, Wang Fei was about to die now. This was real, not faked at all. Damn it, how can it be like this? How did Wang Fei die? The Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor was stupefied in the palace in the clouds. A flustered expression flashed in his eyes. Although Wang Fei still showed signs of life, given their cultivation, they could tell that he was already dead. The instant the 3 saber lights intersected, Wang Fei died. Right now, the dynasty's dragon vein was using its supreme dragon essence to forcibly extend Wang Fei's life. However, this was like filling a bottomless bottle with water. No matter how much water one had, one could not fill the bottle to the brim. In the end, it would empty. Imperial Ancestor. The other elders showed flustered expressions. They looked at the Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor at a loss, clearly asking what they should do if Wang Fei died. In their plan, Wang Fei's death wasn't part of it. With the dynasty's dragon vein supporting him, he was an unrivaled existence in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. He was the heavens of that world. How could he die at the hands of others? With Wang Fei's death, the imperial ancestral temple's many plans could not be carried out. The suppressed Yin Emperor's expression changed slightly. Shock flashed in his eyes as the Yin imperial sword in his hand trembled slightly. He could already draw his sword again. However, the Yin Emperor's face turned ashen. He had no desire to draw his sword at all. His heart remained deathly still, not having any thoughts. The Yin Emperor should hate Shao Chun. However, he could not do so. It was the Imperial Ancestral Temple's imperial ancestor and the others who pushed Wang Fei to the edge of the abyss. However, the Imperial Ancestral Temple's elders were his uncles. Similarly, he could not hate them. Right now, he was the loser. The Imperial Ancestral Temple's elders were also the losers. Is the Yinwu dynasty really unable to avoid a calamity? Thinking of this, the Yin Emperor could not help but close his eyes in despair, feeling disheartened. In the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, the group of great perfection sovereign emperors fighting stopped what they were doing at the same time. They looked at Wang Fei, who had been pierced by 3 sabers, with some confusion. Big brother is going to die? The expressions of the 8th prince and the 13th prince changed slightly as joy and surprise appeared in their eyes. With the death of the eldest prince, that great threat would be completely eliminated. His subordinates would also be forcefully teleported out. At that time, the position of crown prince would only be between the two of them. No, there was another person. Wang Feng said indifferently, the next one has to be 9th brother. You don't have any objections, right? The 13th Prince Wang, he smiled coldly and said, that's exactly what I wanted. The two did not feel any heartache over Wang Fei's death. Instead, they quickly set their sights on their next competitor. The coldness of the two was startling. Right now, only the 9th prince was still refining the Yin imperial sword. If he could perfectly merge his great Tao with the dynasty's dragon vein, the 9th prince would be the only one left. If he could perfectly merge his great Tao with the dynasty's dragon vein, he could become the second first prince. This Yin Songming, who was conversing with Lin Feng, felt greatly startled, his expression changing dramatically. Yin Songming raised his eyebrows and looked at Lord Shi in the distance. Lord Shi still showed a calm expression, unable to tell what he was thinking. You're very surprised. It looks like Wang Fei really did not deserve to die. Lin Feng keenly noticed Yin Songming's expression. There seemed to be some hidden secrets. Yin Songming withdrew his gaze and said after some thought, if that person is willing, no one can kill Wang Fei. Since Wang Fei is dead, it means that the first prince no longer has any value. Senior brother, I can no longer understand this go puzzle. If possible, I hope that you can help me at the crucial moment. Stand in the shoes of a flood dragon human and help my junior brother. The world is about to undergo a great change. My flood dragon human race is facing a once-in-100,000 years opportunity. Whoosh! Yin Songming sent a voice projection to Lin Feng. After saying that, his figure flashed far away, leaving the somewhat confused Lin Feng behind. The world is about to undergo a great change. The flood dragon human race is facing a once-in-100,000 years opportunity. Senior brother, you have to help me. Yin Songming's words lingered in Lin Feng's mind as he entered deep thought. Most importantly, who was the person that Yin Songming mentioned? Based on that person's tone, even Lin Feng felt reverence. Who exactly is this person? Who is so horrifying? Whoosh! Shao Chen's 3 figures slowly merged. It was like time and space layered over each other, and many scenes flashed by. The scenes all showed Shao Chen's past, present, and future. However, the scenes were distorted and blurry, appearing and disappearing in a flash. A scarlet flame shot over. The demon blood vulture descended from the sky and caught the swaying Shao Chun. Shao Chun sheathed his saber and held the wound on his chest, appearing pale. That earlier saber strike was the 3-life flower and not the 3-life flower. Shao Chun used the state of cycle to drive the Mahaya abstinence violation saber technique to execute the three-life flower. Shao Chun traveled to the past and the future, merging the three saber strikes into one. Wang Fei, who revealed an opening, would die for sure. Originally, Shao Chun wanted to execute the stronger, colorless killing. However, merciless killing was hard to control, and he was not confident of success. Hence, he could only settle for the next best thing, executing the more mature three-life flower. Otherwise, he would not be able to kill the first prince, who was one with the world. No matter how severely injured he was, Wang Fei could rely on his horrifying dragon essence to instantly recover. He had a nearly undying body. However, Shao Chen's eyes were filled with doubt. He did not relax at all. The instant Shao Chun executed the three-life flower, he felt a horrifying killing intent. The fear that killing intent brought was something he had never felt before. Shao Chun nearly could not execute it successfully. He even thought of giving up. However, that person seemed to have confirmed something. His killing intent suddenly vanished, and he successfully executed the three-life flower. What did he confirm? A bright light flashed in Shao Chen's eyes. After he confirmed that my saber strike could kill Wang Fei, he chose to give up. That's right. That must be it. If my saber strike could only severely injure Wang Fei, he would have made a move to block it. If I could kill Wang Fei, he would have chosen to give up and reap the benefits. There was only one explanation. Shao Chun could not kill Wang Fei, who was one with the world in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Perhaps he had to pay a huge price to do so, which was why he sent me to kill Wang Fei. Shao Chen's gaze fell on the black-clad Shi, who wore a mask over his left eye, below the altar. Many doubts flashed in his eyes. However, even though someone used him, Shao Chun did not feel any regret in his heart. Shao Chun had three purposes in coming to the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. He wanted to help Wang Yin become the crown prince and wait for the ethereal Immortal Palace to appear. He had never told anyone about his third purpose, only hiding it deep in his heart. However, he had never forgotten it. It was like a sharp knife carving into his heart. Kill Wang Fei. Wang Fei had to die. He had to pay the price for his little martial nephew, Ling Yu's death. Even if Shao Chun had to face the boundless pursuit of the entire imperial ancestral temple, he had to kill Wang Fei. On that day, the scene of Ling Yu committing suicide made Shao Chun swear in his heart that he had waited for this day for a long time. Wang Fei's body fell off the altar. When he felt his life force ebbing like sand, his eyes filled with despair. Dissatisfaction. He was not willing to die like this. When Wang Fei saw she below the altar, a trace of hope appeared in his despairing eyes. This man, whom he could not see through, possessed horrifying strength. Perhaps he had a chance. Lord Shi, save me. If I die, you will not have a chance either. Wang Fei muttered as he looked at Shi with hope. She said calmly, Sorry, Your Highness, you are already dead. Even a true god cannot save you. No. Wang Fei shouted in despair as he grasped his Yin imperial sword helplessly. However, no matter how much despair he felt, he could not change the reality. The instant he landed, his body scattered like sand. Everyone in and out of the area watched this scene incredulously. The insufferably arrogant Wang Fei, who had merged with the dynasty's dragon veins and could be said to be unrivaled, died just like that. Not even dregs remained. The person that everyone thought would become the crown prince was gone, just like that. Hiss. After the first prince died, the figures of his guests flickered continuously. This was the rule of the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. After a prince died, his guests could no longer remain in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. However, just as these people's figures slowly turned blurry, the black-clad masked man suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed the first prince's Yin imperial sword. Whoosh! The sword immediately burst forth with a soaring demonic light, turning the entire sky dark. The azure lotus holy sun and the others' figures turned blurry. The instant the black-clad masked man grabbed the Yin imperial sword, he forcibly pulled them back. The Yin imperial sword is rather impressive. That's not right. It should be called the demonic imperial sword now. She ferociously tore off his black robes, revealing the noble and evil dragon robes inside. That was the Shu dynasty's dragon robes. She tossed the black robes into the air and turned into a blood moon rising into the sky. Chapter 23:16. The blood moon formed by the black robes rose increasingly higher. In mere moments, it was as high as the sky. Pitch black demonic chi covered the sky, and the blood moon appeared indistinct in the demonic fog. Everyone could not tell whether this was the ancient Yin Emperor tomb or the Blood Moon Dynasty's boundless demonic domain. Before one wave settled, another wave rose in the succession race. Everyone knew that most of the retainers under the first prince were from the Devil Dao. After all, while the Imperial Ancestral Temple's elders colluded with the demonic Dao to keep the Hidden Spirit Temple in check, it was not unknown. At the very least, the various feudal lords and noble clan powerhouses present knew some clues. If the weak royal clan did not want to be controlled by others, they could only use a strategy to keep each other in check. However, based on the current situation, the Imperial Ancestral Temple's elders seemed to have gone overboard. The demonic Dao people were not in their grasp. The expressions of the various feudal lords and noble clan powerhouses immediately changed slightly. Soaring Dragon Marquis. What do you think the situation is like? A feudal lord asked the Soaring Dragon Marquis. The succession race had already gone out of control. These feudal lords all felt somewhat uneasy. The royal clan seemed to be losing control of the situation. The Soaring Dragon Marquis frowned slightly. After some thought, he said, "Let's wait and see. The Imperial Palace is where the luck of the entire dynasty lies. The royal clan has operated here for more than 100,000 years. Even if a faux god descends, he would not dare to be impudent here." Although the Soaring Dragon Marquis said that, he still felt that something was wrong, as the Yin Emperor had not appeared yet. Inside the palace in the clouds, the Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor walked to a corner. A pitch-black figure stood in front of him. It was just an image, but everyone could feel the overwhelming demonic might in its eyes. The two quickly conversed. The Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor's expression changed several times before he finally nodded helplessly. When the image vanished, the Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor's expression returned to normal as he slowly walked forward. The clouds in front slowly vanished. It looked like the Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor was about to walk to the platform. The tightly shut Yin Emperor suddenly opened his eyes and asked indifferently, "Who are you speaking to?" The Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor paused for a moment but did not leave. After a while, his figure appeared before the many powerhouses in the palace. As he stood in the clouds, he said, "Everyone, don't panic. Everything in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb is under the royal clan's control. The succession race will proceed as planned. It's the ancestor." Seeing the patriarch appear, the various feudal vassals and aristocratic families felt slightly relieved. Since the grand ancestor had said so, there was nothing to worry about. After all, this was an important place in the imperial palace, and the dynasty had 100,000 years of accumulation. However, the battle for the crown prince position was even more complicated and confusing, making it even more difficult to predict. In the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, demonic clouds covered the sky, and the blood moon hung high in the sky. She held the mutated demonic imperial sword and revealed a baffling smile under the blood moon. Behind him stood the Black Lotus Saint, the Azure Lotus Saintess, and many demonic Dao experts. The sudden change caught everyone off guard, causing them to frown. The 8th prince and the 13th prince stood together. Their eyes were filled with confusion. They didn't know what this person wanted to do. What was even more confusing was how Xiao Chun could hold the Yin Imperial Sword in First Brother's hand. There were too many strange things. Both of them felt a trace of uneasiness, and they faintly sensed that the competition for the crown prince position had changed. When Xiao Chun looked up at the blood moon in the sky, he suddenly felt like he was in a dream. It was like the Blood Moon dynasty had already occupied this place. What kind of agreement did First Brother make with the Imperial Ancestral Temple? To think that they brought such a monster into the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. The 13th Prince Wang Yi's eyes flickered. He no longer dared to act rashly. Wang Feng said softly, "Just wait and see. If he only wants to wait for the ethereal Immortal Palace to appear, the situation will not be that bad." The best guess was that this person was only interested in the ethereal Immortal Palace. The worst-case scenario was unimaginable. Sikong Shu and the Silver Dragon King showed grave expressions as they looked at the blood moon above. The Silver Dragon King sent a voice projection. This person is called Shi. He is the first prince of the Shuwu dynasty. At the same time, the demonic Dao Hall's Hall Master thinks highly of him. If nothing unexpected happens, he will definitely become the new demon monarch and control the entire demonic Dao. It looks like he is determined to obtain the ethereal Immortal Palace. Sikong Shu replied calmly, "It is not that simple. There are many factions of the demonic Dao entangling with him. For him to be able to unite the Black Lotus Church and the Azure Lotus Church under him, it means that he is very ambitious. This time, it's not as simple as the Misty Palace of Immortals." Whoosh! On the demon blood vulture, Xiao Chun, who was anxiously treating his injuries, sensed a figure descend. It was Chu Chaoyan, who had been hiding somewhere. Then, he appeared and landed beside Xiao Chun. Chu Chaoyan stared at Shi, who was below. After some thought, he said, "This is really unexpected. I thought that after killing the first prince, he would be no longer a threat. Now, I can't figure out what he is trying to do." "You can't figure it out?" "Actually, it is very simple. Ships come and go in the surging sea, all for the sake of profit. Putting aside the minor details, he used me to kill the first prince. Clearly, he wants to obtain the greatest benefit, to replace the first prince." Xiao Qin made a bold prediction that no one dared to think of. This startled Chu Chaoyan, not daring to reply. The Yinwu dynasty had existed for more than 100,000 years. Its territory was vast, and its accumulations were deep. Xiao Qin alone wanted to take over the entire Yinwu dynasty. This was a pipe dream, too exaggerated. "Isn't this a little too inconceivable?" Chu Chaoyan said with some uncertainty after a pause. After all, Ruoshi was only doing this for the ethereal Immortal Palace. There was no need to expose her identity. It would be better to let the first prince block the spear. Aside from the various possibilities, there is only one possibility left. No matter how incredible it is the truth. "Do you know who else stands behind me, aside from the Heavenly Alliance?" "Oh." Chu Chaoyan raised his eyebrows. He had long sensed that Xiao Chun knew something that he did not. "The Hidden Spirit Temple. If not for the Hidden Spirit Temple's help, my strength would not have improved before the succession race. This game of chess is no longer as simple as the succession race. In the current martial epoch, the 8 super factions are all here. They all have their own plans and backup plans. There was one more thing that Xiao Chun did not say. Back then, in the Hidden Spirit Temple, Sword God Su Hanshan and the Spring Snow Bladesman Pan Huang were there at the same time. Was it a coincidence? How could there be such a coincidence? The strongest person of the Sword Dao and the strongest person of the Saber Dao appeared at the Hidden Spirit Temple at the same time. From the very start, this game of chess used the entire martial epoch as the chessboard. A bright light flickered in Xiao Chen's eyes. When he looked around, he saw Sikong Shu and the Silver Dragon King standing proudly in the Bushin Palace, enduring silently. The profound Heaven Holy Lands One Rin, you stood silently behind Dao Yin with his zither on his back. The Underworld God Halls Yin, Songming, and Jin Yuan looked like they were on the same side as the demonic Dao cultivators. However, upon closer inspection, they seemed somewhat distant. "There's one more person." Xiao Qin looked around, but could not find the person in his heart. He frowned heavily and said softly, "There's one more person?" Chu Chaoyun felt confused, not knowing who Xiao Chan was referring to. Xiao Qin did not answer. He looked around, but still could not find that person. He did not know where that person was hiding. However, Xiao Qin knew that that person had to be here, in this ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Otherwise, That person would not have asked Xiao Qian if he would kill him for no reason that day. The blood moon hung in the sky, looking as resplendent as fire. She, who wore dragon robes, tightly grasped the demonic imperial sword. When he sensed that the sword in his hand had completely turned into the demonic imperial sword, he opened his eyes. His left and right eyes were different, adding a sinister air to them. Whoosh! She's somewhat tyrannical words came out calmly from his mouth, inspiring fear in others. She gently swung the demonic imperial sword in his hand, and the altar beside him split in half. Now, only the altar remained in the core region. Only Wang Yin anxiously refined the Yin imperial sword, hoping to perfectly merge his great Tao with the dynasty's dragon vein. It is time to end the succession race. She looked around and fixed his gaze on Wang Yin, who was in the fierce, sacred flame. Then, his lips curled up in a cold smile. She's unfathomable aura was even more terrifying and unfathomable than the first Prince Wang Fei's. Oh no! On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Qian's expression changed. He guessed what she was going to do. Xiao Qian wanted to continue fighting. However, the moment he stood up, he vomited a mouthful of blood. Right now, he could not make a move. A flash of sword light carrying the dynasty's might came from a place no one expected and landed on the altar where Wang Yin was. This was also the dynasty's might. However, this sword strike contained the Zumuan dynasty's might. The sword light turned into a blood dragon materialized by the dynasty's accumulations. Before Xiao Suo and the others on the altar could react, the sword wind blew them away. No! The sword wind contained too much Zumuan dynasty's might. The severely injured Xiao Suo and the others could not block it, and the sword wind blew them away mercilessly. Then, they watched as the sword light landed. The blood dragon opened its huge jaws and coldly swallowed up the entire altar. Boom! As the sacred flame scattered, the altar was instantly destroyed. The 8 altars in the core region were all destroyed, not a single one remaining. Xiao Qian held his chest and coughed continuously as he stared at the blood moon in the sky. That earlier sword strike came from the blood moon. No one had expected a sword to fly out of the blood moon. No one, not even Xiao Qian, had expected it. Upon closer inspection, that blood moon contained a dragon shadow. No one knew how deep the dragon shadow's accumulations were. A dragon hidden in the moon, existing with the sky. Whoosh! Without any warning, a pair of dragon eyes suddenly opened in the blood moon high in the sky. It looked down on all life, and the boundless sky seemed to be its body. A boundless pressure suddenly appeared on everyone's shoulders. As they looked at the blood moon in the sky, intense horror appeared in their eyes. That blood moon looked like a sovereign descending on the world, wanting to devour mountains and rivers. Hiss! 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 Strands of dragon essence flowed endlessly in the core region. The silk-like crystalline dragon essence continuously drifted into the sky and got swallowed up by the demonic clouds. The blood moon in the clouds seemed even more beautiful. Similar. Too similar. Xiao Qian's heart thumped heavily, and his hand trembled. This blood moon looked very similar to the one in the Blue Dragon Ancient Land. What exactly is Xi's relationship with Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun? You are right. He does indeed want to take over the Yanwu dynasty. That blood moon hides the Xiaowu dynasty's dragon vein clone. It is slowly devouring the Yanwu dynasty's dragon vein. It looks like the Imperial Ancestral Temple has already sided with the demonic Dao Hall. This is not going to be easy. Chu Chaoyan sighed softly, sounding somewhat helpless. The other party had already gained momentum. The other party's guests and experts had just gone through a huge battle and were drained. No one dared to make a move at this moment. If not for Xiao Qian making a move to kill Wang Fei, things might not have gone so smoothly for the other party. However, Xiao Qian could not be blamed. Chu Chaoyan had planned this in the first place. After killing Wang Fei, Chu Chaoyan's guests would leave as well. However, plans could never keep up with changes. Should I say this as well? Those who submit to me will prosper. Those who oppose me will die, she said with a harmless smile. Then, he casually swung the demonic imperial sword in his hand. Rumble. Ripples spread out from the sword light, spreading out in front like ripples. It looked like a casual swing, but it carried a boundless aura like a surging wave containing vast demonic might. Silver Dragon's Rage. Raging stars. Vast sky fist light. Sorrowful cloud palm. The princes and guests who were still alive looked at the ripple-like sword marks that were moving toward them. Their expressions changed drastically. As they executed killing moves, they retreated frantically. The weaker ones bore the brunt of the attack, sustaining severe injuries and vomiting blood. With a casual swing of the sword, everyone moved back. She raised his head and looked at the demon blood vulture, which was forced back. Then, he smiled faintly and said, "Brother Shao, I will share this world with you." Chapter 23:17. Brother Shao, I will share this world with you. She smiled faintly under the blood moon as he raised his head to look at Shao Chun, who was on the demon blood vulture. Right after she spoke, he immediately caused a huge commotion. What's going on? Why did she suddenly say that? Could it be that Shao Chun and she were old acquaintances? In hindsight, if Shao Chun had not used a strange saber move to kill the first Prince Wang Fei, she would not have his current might. On the demon blood vulture's back, Chu Chaoyan gave Shao Chun a suspicious look, entering deep thought. Shao Chun said calmly, "Don't overthink. This is my first time seeing this person in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. However, he should have some connection to Dragon Emperor Shao Yan." At that time, Dragon Emperor Shao Yan's other identity was the demonic Dao Hall's Hallmaster. Perhaps he is a blue dragon descendant as well. However, his bloodline is already extremely thin. Chu Chaoyan shared some of his guesses, thinking of other possibilities. Perhaps this could explain Shi's earlier words. A blue dragon bloodline? That's impossible. Aside from me, there is no other blue dragon bloodline in this world. Although the Kunlun realm has a blue dragon totem, it only has a blue dragon martial spirit. It is still far from a bloodline. Shao Chun entered deep thought. Then, he said, there are only two possibilities for his earlier words. One is to frame me. After all, Wang Fei died at my hands. The second possibility is that I am an important pawn in his eyes. Without me, he cannot start the epic. Or perhaps, both of them are possible. Cut the crap. What are you trying to do? As the two discussed on the demon blood vulture, a furious shout came from below. It was the 8th Prince Wang Feng. He had had enough of this demonic Dao expert who came out of nowhere. This demonic Dao expert turned the succession race into a mess, leaving Wang Feng with no chance at all. Most importantly, this was the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Wang Feng could not stand an outsider giving orders here, acting all high and mighty. Even when Wang Fei was in power, he did not feel this bad. After all, he was of the royal family's bloodline. But who the hell was this guy in front of him? What exactly do you want? The other princes felt the same way as Wang Feng. They could not understand what she was trying to do. I've already said that the competition for the crown prince position is over. You princes have already performed outstandingly. Go back to where you came from. The Imperial Ancestral Temple will reward you based on your contributions. She smiled. He did not get angry at this group of princes with cold expressions and murderous gazes. Do you think it's over just because you say so? Yes, it's over when I say it's over. Right after Shao Chun spoke, the smile on Shi's face suddenly vanished, replaced by a cold and sinister expression. The scattered gazes suddenly focused on the 8th Prince Wang Fei. Their eyes met. In the depths of the mysterious left eye's pupil, a strange blood-red cross mark appeared. Below the cross mark was a vast, demonic sea, and there seemed to be terrifying demons slumbering in the sea. No bang, bang, bang. Boundless horror spread in the 8th prince's heart. The horror hidden in the depths of his heart magnified infinitely. The 8th prince's heart pounded faster and faster, looking like it would leap out of his chest. Wang Feng clutched his chest, unable to utter a single word. His face was pale. Then, he flew back with a plop. After he landed, he bounced several times on the ground like a rubber ball. With each bounce, he vomited a large mouthful of essence blood, a tragic sight to behold. "Your Highness!" Dao Xian and the other hanger-ons were shocked and quickly chased after them. Only Wen Rinyu, Mu Yunzhu, and Gu Yuhan showed grave expressions as they sent voice projections. Did he see anything? No. He only took one look before immediately closing his demonic eye. I vaguely felt a vague mark. Before I could examine it in detail, I felt boundless horror and did not dare to sigh again. I'm about the same. This person's demonic eye is too horrifying. Even though it is not directed at us, it already possesses such a terrifying ability. Wen Rinyu looked up at the blood moon and entered deep thought. This Shi's strength is simply outrageous. Gasp! The other princes sucked in a breath of cold air. They could not hide the horror in their eyes. With just one look, the 8th prince was severely injured. How strong was this Shi? What should we do? Senior Sikong, Senior Silver Dragon King, what should we do? The 13th Prince Wang, he trembled in fear, completely flustered and unable to come up with any ideas. Compared to the hot-blooded 8th prince, the 13th prince's performance in this desperate situation was even worse. However, Sikong Shu and the Silver Dragon King did not answer the 13th prince. They were thinking about a deeper problem. The blood moon hung in the sky, existing with the sky as it slowly swallowed up the dynasty's dragon vein. How does she do it? Back then, in order to stabilize this land of absolute beginning, the imperial family must have laid down a shocking array here. After so many years of operation by the Imperial Ancestral Temple, the Imperial Ancestral Temple must have set up a shocking array here. It would not be an exaggeration to call it an ancient formation. However, looking at it now, the blood moon in the sky seemed to be the new formation's eye. The ancient formation ended up in the hands of a demonic Tao prince. This was simply inconceivable. If one thought about the mysteries behind this carefully, one would feel some lingering fear. Sikong Shu and the Silver Dragon King exchanged glances. The two were experienced and quickly figured out some clues. Bang! 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 Just as Sikong Shu was about to say something, the 13th prince retreated with a horrified expression. Then, she swept his gaze over. When she swept his gaze over, all the princes he looked at moved back frantically. They feared that the tragedy that happened to the 8th prince would repeat itself on them. Seeing this somewhat comical scene, Sikong Shu sighed softly. There is no more chance. These princes are all frightened out of their wits. We are also helpless. If not for the blood moon in the sky, this Shi might not be undefeatable, even with the demonic eye. Since the princes gave up, the guests naturally had to leave. However, not everyone could be like Shi, grasping the Yin Imperial Sword and forcibly converting it into a demonic Imperial Sword. Right now, it was practically clear that this Shi had a secret deal with the Imperial Ancestral Temple. However, no one knew how much they had tied him up. The Silver Dragon King's eyes lit up. Something's not right. Did you notice that the speed at which the blood clouds are swallowing the dragon essence has slowed down? It seems like something has changed. Sikong Shu looked over. Indeed, it was so. The countless crystalline silk-like dragon essence in the air had slowed down slightly. If one did not look carefully, one would not notice it. She, who had been scaring the princes, did not notice this. You are still not going to retreat? She frowned slightly. His baleful aura seemed solid, putting terrifying pressure on everyone. He said indifferently, I don't have such a good temper all the time. The blood moon in the sky burst forth with resplendent light as Shi's aura increased. The horror in the hearts of the many princes immediately multiplied. It looked like they would collapse. Bang! Just at this moment, a dragon roar erupted from underground, and a dazzling holy light soared into the sky. You're not the one who calls the shots in this world. The 9th Prince Wang Yin showed a stern expression amid the light. As he held the Yin Imperial Sword, he slowly soared into the air. Auspicious clouds surrounded Wang Yin, and a dragon image appeared behind him. A vast dynasty appeared indistinct. Wang Yin, its 9th brother. His massacre, great, Tao perfectly merged with the dynasty's dragon vein. The sword strike from the blood moon had struck Wang Yin half dead. However, Wang Yin reappeared with his massacre Great Tao, which perfectly merged with the dynasty's dragon vein. No injuries could be seen on Wang Yin's body. His stern face hid a boundless state of massacre. The continuously rising dragon essence started to frantically flow towards Wang Yan's body. Demonic clouds surged in the sky, and cracks started to appear in the blood moon, which had been consuming the dynasty's dragon vein. The Silver Dragon King said after some thought, "So, that is the case." Before the altar was destroyed, this Wang Yin already perfectly merged with the dynasty's dragon vein. However, that sword strike severely injured him, so he endured and waited until he recovered to his peak before making a strong appearance. On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Chun also felt startled. Then, he revealed a smile. Wang Yin did a great job. Xiao Chun's protection up until now was not in vain. He just had to endure and wait until he recovered to his peak before dealing a blow to she. Had she been rash back then, he would have destroyed Xiao Chun. Now, with Wang Yan's strong return, it would not be that easy to destroy him. The most important thing was that Wang Yan's appearance gave the other princes confidence. At the very least, Xi's plan would not fall apart and fail, like Dao Yin, Sikong Shu, and the other super experts. You want to turn the tide with just your strength? It won't be that easy. Xi's expression changed. Clearly, he had not expected Wang Yin to have hidden so deeply. Wang Yin had jumped out just when she felt that he had the upper hand. Xi's demonic eye of terror feared hope and courage the most. Given that, its might would be greatly reduced. Hence, it would be difficult for Xi to force back the other princes with one look. She needed to kill Wang Yin as quickly as possible. Just as she was about to lead Ming Xian and the others over, something strange happened. Only by purifying all life can one attain enlightenment. I swear not to become a Buddha until hell is empty. A brilliant Buddhist might appeared in the western sky. Auspicious clouds covered the sun, looking like a surging river that continuously pushed back the demonic clouds in the sky. The great origin of the Kittagarbha Bodhisattva traveled through time and space from the previous epoch and resounded in the sky. Amid the boundless beneficence, Yuan Zhen was like a living Buddha descending from the heavens. Yuan Zhen showed a solemn expression as he sat cross-legged on the lotus platform. Then, he formed supreme dermic seals with his hands, showing all sorts of mysteries. Then, he threw a palm strike. All laws are empty. Only Buddha is supreme. Pure and vast beneficence materialized an ancient Buddhist nation behind Yuan Zhen. When Yuan Zhen's palm strike landed, it materialized a golden Buddhist palm as large as a mountain. Then, it pierced through the demonic clouds and headed for the blood moon in the sky. At the same time, the shattered pieces of the 8 altars scattered in the core region gathered in the air and formed a brand new altar. Dragons soared up from the ground. Dragon images bathed in Buddhist might continuously headed for the altar. A person descended from the sky, showing wild joy on his face as he landed firmly on the altar. Then, Wang Yun stabbed the Yin imperial sword into the altar. Laughing maniacally, he said, "Ninth brother's words do not count in this world." Chapter 23:18. You, ninth brother, do not have the final say in this world. Auspicious clouds churned in the sky. Yuan Zhen looked like a Buddha descending to the world as he sent a palm strike at the blood moon in the sky. At the same time, the 9th altar also appeared. It gathered the essence of the 8 altar fragments and formed the 9th altar in the air. Thousands of dragon images soared up from the ground and gathered. In wild joy, the 4th Prince Wang Yun stabbed his Yin imperial sword into the fierce sacred flame. The repeated changes could no longer be described as one wave rising and one wave calming. Instead, it was an unending storm, 10,000 waves surging. Just as everyone felt shocked at the 9th Prince Wang Yan's strong return, Yuan Zhen suddenly charged out, using a vast Buddhist might to shake the sky as he headed for the blood moon. Before Yuan Zhen could see what would happen when the golden Buddhist palm landed on the blood moon, the 9th altar suddenly appeared. The 9th altar suddenly appeared. A character that no one could have imagined ascended the altar, bathed in Buddhist light. Xiao Qin's eyes did not know where to look. The thoughts in his mind were in a mess. He was stunned on the spot and was lost in thought. This is the legendary ninth altar. To think that there really is a ninth altar. 9 is the limit of numbers, reaching the peak and occupying great luck. The fourth Prince Wang Yun is really surprising. If he could perfectly merge with it, he would be ridiculously strong. This ninth altar does indeed occupy great luck. However, one's fate is tough enough to endure it. The many princes and guests in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb felt flabbergasted, their thoughts pausing momentarily. The instant Yuan Zhen appeared on the demon blood vulture, Xiao Qin's expression changed slightly. Although Xiao Qian had been waiting for Yuan Zhen to appear, he had not expected Yuan Zhen to appear in such a manner. Purify all living beings before attaining enlightenment. I swear not to become a Buddha until hell is empty. The Kittagarbha Bodhisattva. Suddenly, many of Xiao Qin's doubts cleared up. No wonder this Yuan Zhen asked Xiao Qian if he would kill him for no reason that day. It turned out that Yuan Zhen had inherited the karma of the Kunlun realm's Kittagarbha Bodhisattva. However, Xiao Qin did not know what form it took. Was it reincarnation, possession, or seal? If one had to say who was the most shocked and surprised, it had to be she. Everything is empty. Only the Buddha is supreme. If one had to say who was the most shocked, it would definitely be Prince Shi. He had failed time and time again. Unexpectedly, the ninth prince returned strongly, and Yuan Zhen suddenly rose up, causing the ninth prince to lose the overall situation. The ninth prince's appearance had already caused cracks to appear in the blood moon. Now, the fourth prince's gathering of dragon essence made the situation even worse. If Yuan Zhen's palm strike, which broke the demonic clouds, landed, the blood moon would shatter. Return. She was extremely decisive. He stretched out his hand, and the blood moon in the sky suddenly turned into a spinning black hole. He returned to his black robe form and slowly descended from the sky. After the golden Buddha palm, which was descending from the blood moon, missed, Yuan Zhen gently waved his hand and sent it toward Shi's group. The golden Buddha palm had already blotted out the sky. The momentum of its descent was like the sky was collapsing. Do it! On the demon blood vulture's back, the eyes of Xiao Qun and Chu Chaoyan lit up as they took advantage of the situation to attack. Without hesitation, Xiao Qun flew toward the black robe. He could not allow Shi to control the black robe again. Otherwise, when the blood moon rose again, it would be difficult to deal with. Black Face Secret Technique destroy. Azure Lotus Secret Technique create. Ming Xian and the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter, Yang Qing, showed grave expressions as they stepped forward, one on the left and one on the right. Then, they formed hand seals and launched palm strikes at the same time. The black swastika on Ming Xian's forehead spun around and released a black demonic might containing a heavy might of destruction. An azure lotus bloomed under Yang Qing's feet, and a gentle Buddhist light spread out like an auspicious sign, erupting with a torrential life force. Life and death. The two worked together to clash with the Buddha palm strike. She soared into the air, wanting to retrieve the black robe. A figure arrived in the air, brandishing a sword and swinging it. The killing intent filling the air was like a silver river, blocking Shi from afar. She showed some anger on his face as he looked up. It was the ninth Prince Wang Yin holding up his Yin Imperial sword, coming to stop him. You are seeking death, she raged. A scarlet cross appeared in the depths of his left eye as boundless horror assaulted him. In that instant, intense fear overwhelmed Wang Yan's physical body and soul. His body trembled slightly. Wang Yin remained calm, dealing with this calmly. The killing intent filling the air turned into motes of stars and gathered on his sword. Whoosh! The sword erupted with a blazing sword light. Wang Yan's wrist moved slightly, and a sword light shone on Shi's eyes. While the sword light covered the other party's demonic eyes, Wang Yin suppressed the fear in his heart with boundless courage and charged forward to attack. At this moment, Wang Yan's massacre grate Dao perfectly merged with the dynasty's dragon vein. His strength was no weaker than the first prince's. As the sword light swept out, the 100,000-year-old dynasty's accumulations poured out like a surging river. With the massacre great Dao driving it, the dynasty's accumulations became like a vast army, roaring kill endlessly. She was forced to fight with the demonic imperial sword as Wang Yin held him back. Ming Xian, Yang Qing, don't bother with that Yuanzhen. Help me snatch back the divine cloak. At the same time, Xiao Suo charged over with the heavenly book scholar, Wu Ming, and the others, holding up the Scarlet Blood War banner. They engaged in a chaotic battle with Xi's guests, not giving him a chance to provide reinforcements. In the air, Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan chased after the black robe. Chu Chaoyan frowned slightly. Then he glanced around and saw Ming Xian and the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter charging over at the same time after blocking that palm strike. I'll go and block them. Without hesitation, Chu Chaoyan's figure flashed as he pushed his hands to the left and right. The universe origin true flame burned fiercely, materializing a screen of fire that blocked Ming Xian and the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter. Chu Chaoyan did not give the two a chance to react. He drew his sword and slowly spread out his primal chaos great Dao. His figure turned blurry, preventing Ming Xian and Yang Qing from locking onto his exact location. On the ground, the 8th prince and the 13th prince, who looked like they were startled awake from a dream, looked at the 9th altar in the air. Madness appeared in their eyes. Right now, this was their only chance to fight with the 9th prince Wang Yin. They could chase Wang Yun down and monopolize the 9th altar for themselves. Kill! Wang Feng and Wang Yi each led their guests over with an overwhelming aura. With the strength of the two of them, it should be more than enough to chase Wang Yun away. However, just as the group approached, a Buddhist voice rang out. Buddhist chants rang out, and the many guests of the 4th prince Wang Yun appeared. Each of them held a magic tool. Then, according to Yuan Zhen's instructions, they stood in different positions and activated their magic tools at the same time. Boom! In that instant, thousands of Buddhist voices layered over each other. A huge Buddha image encased the surrounding 5,000 kilometers. This Buddha image vaguely resembled the Kunlun realm's Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. Dang! 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 The many weapons struck the Buddha image, giving off metallic clangs. However, Wang Yun, who was on the altar, did not suffer any damage. Mr. Yuan really has incredible foresight. He long guessed that this group of princes would go crazy. Indeed, he gave us the magic tools to lay the formation in advance. It really worked. Don't get distracted. We are about to change the formation. All right. Hidden dragon in the depths, spirit traveling 8 extremes, 9 palaces touched, 10 directions unchanging. The guest wielding the Dharma artifact changed his movement technique. The shadow of a dragon rose from the ground. A dragon image soared into the air from the ground as the formation changed and moved around the Buddha image. Unexpectedly, it was used by the Buddha image, slowly making it corporeal. Damn it, how can it be like this? The princes cursed when they saw that the Buddha image barrier, which was already at its wit's end, could actually reverse the dragon essence and strengthen it. On the altar, Wang Yun opened his eyes. When he saw the 8th prince and the 13th prince, he showed furious and helpless expressions. Wang Yun's lips curled up in a delighted smile as he said indifferently, 8th brother, little 13th prince, you did not expect this day, right? Ha ha ha. The person you mocked and bullied since you were young will one day make you gnash your teeth in frustration, unable to do anything about it. The 8th prince and the 13th prince bit their lips in silence. Their eyes filled with dissatisfaction. If the 9th prince could rise up despite the situation, it could be explained. After all, he had been guarding the borders, radiating killing qi and making countless contributions. Furthermore, he had Xiao Qin's help, making up for the 9th prince's weakness of not having a foundation in the imperial capital. However, how capable was the 4th prince? He had been synonymous with trash since he was young. To think that he could ride on their heads, aloof and aloof, mocking them. The various factions in the ancient Yin Emperor Tomb's core region all had their own goals. Chaotic battles broke out everywhere, turning the sky dark and the ground dark. Everywhere was a battlefield. Yin Songming and Jin Yuan left, watching from the sidelines. Surprisingly, they did not participate. Logically speaking, the two should be helping Shi. However, for some reason, they chose not to help either side. Should we make a move? I feel that we can bet on it. Jin Yuan looked into the distance, raring to give it a try at Shi's side. His eyes brimmed with fighting spirit. Don't. That fellow's potential is far from being exposed. Let's see how many trump cards he has. The more he exposes, the higher our chances of victory. Yin Songming calmly made his choice, showing a smile on his face. Unexpectedly, the situation changed so quickly. This was simply a heaven-sent opportunity for Yin Songming. After Yuan Jun attacked in the sky, he sat cross-legged on the lotus platform and closed his eyes to rest. Yuan Jun did not chase after Shi. He continuously chanted scriptures, using the momentum that the fourth Prince Wang Yun gathered to fill the sky with flickering, auspicious clouds. Yuan Jun continuously pushed back the originally vast and unparalleled demonic clouds. As for Shao Chun, he frowned slightly. As he looked at the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows in front, he remained silent. Just as Shao Chun was about to grab the black cloak formed by the blood moon, a flash of scarlet lightning appeared and snatched it away from his eyes. It's him, the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows that Shao Chun found vaguely familiar the first time he met him in Divine City. The second time, this mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows appeared during the fight for the five-element divine lightning. However, he did not appear at the same time as Ming Xian. The next time Shao Chun met him was now. The mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows held the black cloak and laughed strangely. Do you want it? Shao Chun showed a calm expression as he asked. You recognize me? Ha ha ha. How laughable. How laughable. Shao Chun, you still do not recognize me? This is really disappointing. The scarlet shadow encasing Shao Chun's body slowly scattered. His true body was actually a blood-sucking vine. However, what truly shocked Shao Chun was the face that appeared on the blood-sucking vine. It was both familiar and unfamiliar. That was a face that Shao Chun had forgotten long ago. It was a person that should not have appeared in the Great Thousand Realms. This was the Kunlun Realm's Thunder King, the Thunder King who laid out the plan, the one from the same generation as the Qing Emperor, the one who wanted to help the Black Lotus Church unify the Kunlun Realm. You are actually not dead. A murderous intent flashed in Shao Chun's eyes. His expression changed slightly, unable to hide his shock. Ha! If the Black Lotus Church did not leave behind a strand of my soul, allowing me to reincarnate in the Great Thousand Realms, would I still be so loyal to them? The Thunder King smiled sinisterly. I look forward to seeing how long you can last against me in your current state. In his fight with the first Prince Wang Fei, Shao Chun was severely injured and drained a lot of energy. Even now, Shao Chun had not recovered much of his energy. It would be hard for him to block an opponent of the level of the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows. However, Shao Chun remained calm, not showing any fluster in his eyes. He said indifferently, Sorry, I'll have to disappoint you. Since you chose to expose yourself, I can only kill you again. I am Black Egg. I am White Egg. Hee hee. Now that the two eggs appear, who can compete with me? The black and white eggs, who had been waiting impatiently in the divine universe steel, received Shao Chun's instructions. The black and white eggs immediately leaped out and erupted with a horrifying aura that rivaled that of a six-vein sovereign emperor. The black and white eggs turned into two hurricanes, one black and one white, charging at the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows. Chapter 23:19. Since the two eggs appeared, who could compete with them? Two tornadoes, one white and one black, howled as they charged at the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows. Shao Chun remained calm, not worried that the black and white eggs would lose. With Shao Chun's current strength, he could rival a five-vein sovereign emperor. The two eggs were at least as strong as a six-vein sovereign emperor. The two faux god puppets used Shao Chun as a reference and would always be slightly stronger than him. Shao Chun was a six-vein sovereign emperor with a black and white eggs combat experience, the two's tacit cooperation, and the special nature of the puppets' bodies. Shao Chun could not think of any reason why he would lose to the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows. That's not right. I should address the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows as the Thunder King now. With this thought, a murderous intent surfaced in Shao Chun's eyes again. How many outstanding talents of his Kunlun realm had died? To think that the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows dared to appear before Shao Chun and expose his identity. Shao Chun did not mind killing the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows again, making him disappear completely. This kind of person, who wanted to bury the entire world for his own benefit, should not exist in this world. Puppets? You want to kill me with just two puppets? Shao Chun, you are really naive. The Thunder King originally felt somewhat shocked when he sensed the black and white eggs auras. Facing two six-vein sovereign emperors at the same time would still put some pressure on him. However, if they're just puppets, the Thunder King smiled sinisterly. They are not worth mentioning at all. Countless demonic vines tangled together and turned into two beams of scarlet electric light as they burst out. In an instant, they charged into the two hurricanes. With a loud rumble, the hurricanes dispersed in an instant. The shock wave spread out. Shao Chun pushed off with his feet and took a few steps back. Then, he scattered the shock waves with a palm strike. The two demonic scarlet vines repeatedly attacked the black and white eggs, splitting the demonic vines. The demonic vines split apart, looking like scarlet snakes opening their mouths and biting the black and white eggs. Before entering the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, the Thunder Sovereign had fully displayed its horror, biting the heavenly wolf empire's Tuoba Yao with demonic vines. When the demonic vines bit the heavenly wolf empire's Tuoba Yao, the demonic vines instantly sucked out most of the other party's chi and blood. Just as he was about to repeat the same trick, the Thunder King suddenly recalled that puppets didn't have physical bodies. His entire body was made of divine materials that had been tempered hundreds and thousands of times, and with the help of formations, he was forged. When the thousands of blood snakes bit it, the scene that severely injured Tuoba Yao did not reappear. The black and white eggs remained undamaged. Kacha! Kacha! The black and white eggs grabbed the blood-sucking vines that wanted to shrink back, and they continuously punched them. The two blood-red vines, which looked like the arms of the Thunder King, were continuously shattered. The 10,000-meter-long blood-red vines were instantly blasted into nothingness. Little blockhead's ability isn't enough. Trash. You've made yourself look like neither a human nor a ghost, but your strength is still only SOSO. After the black and white eggs approached the Thunder King, they launched an endless barrage of attacks. The two eggs' Dao domains layered over each other, working together seamlessly. In just a short while, the Thunder King was exhausted from dealing with them, and he couldn't run even if he wanted to. The humiliation in Shao Chun's words infuriated the Thunder King, causing him to howl. Even if I lie to you, there is nothing you can do about it. The black and white eggs combat experience rivaled that of faux gods. Back then, when Shao Chun first saw them, he nearly gave up on the martial Dao. This showed how horrifying they were. The Thunder King treated the two as ordinary puppets, so he was destined to suffer. Shao Chun did not pay much attention to the battle. He kept his eyes on the black robes controlled by the mysterious man shrouded in bloody shadows. Clearly, this item was very important to Shi. He needed to obtain it. Die. The Thunder King, who had had his fill of humiliation from the black and white eggs, roared. An electric light burst out from his entire body. The piercing and dazzling Dao might that rivaled a six-layer thunder, Dao domain sent the black and white eggs flying. It was not over yet. The Dao domain on Shi Chen's body continued to grow wildly. The instant his Dao might reached the 8th layer, thousands of scarlet vines shot out. The scarlet vines were like lightning spears, covering the sky and the ground as they surged over, carrying vast thundermight. Boom! Everywhere the scarlet vines passed, scarlet electric lights spread out in the air, showing no blind spots. The Thunder King's peak strike fully displayed the power of his Thunder Dao domain. When the scarlet vines arrived, they instantly struck the black and white eggs, shattering them into countless pieces. In the end, they're just puppets. The Thunder Sovereign held his breath and snorted coldly. That earlier strike was extremely powerful. That earlier strike drained most of his demonic energy and his great Dao energy. Even a true six-vein Sovereign Emperor would find it hard to escape death after getting struck by that attack. Hee hee, how scary. I nearly shattered them into pieces. Ha ha ha. Again. The shattered pieces on the ground suddenly gathered, and the black and white eggs reappeared, showing no signs of damage. At the critical moment earlier, the black and white eggs disintegrated at the same time. While it looked like the Thunder King had shattered them with one strike, in reality, the black and white eggs had taken the initiative to disintegrate themselves. Bang! 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 Before the somewhat stunned Thunder King could react, the black and white eggs charged over again. The vines of a gigantic blood-sucking vine shattered. However, after a while, only the trunk remained. Since the Thunder King could not defeat them, he no longer dared to fight, frantically fleeing. That is, suddenly, a bright light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. The mysterious man, shrouded in bloody shadows, had cut off one of the vines holding the black robes, allowing the black robes to fly back into the air. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's figure flashed as he attacked at lightning speed, grabbing the black robes in his hand. When Xiao Chen flipped the black robes over, he saw a scarlet dragon image embroidered on the inside. As he held it, the entire black robes seemed to move about like it was alive. The demonic cloud heaven swallowing art in Xiao Chen's body circulated involuntarily. With a thought, Xiao Chen tried to use his demonic Dao divine energy to control this black-clad sage robes. However, he helplessly discovered that there was an invisible membrane on the saint robe itself, blocking all of his divine essence and soul stones outside. After a while, Xiao Chen understood. His cultivation technique was not right. No matter how strong his demonic energy was, he could not control this black-clad sage robes. Damn it! Scram! She, who was being held back by Wang Yin, glanced over and discovered that the black robes landed in Xiao Chen's hand. Enraged, she swept his sword across and forced back Wang Yin, who was bitterly holding on. Wang Yan's palm exploded, and his Yin imperial sword trembled endlessly, nearly falling out of his hand. After Wang Yin landed, he moved back another 100 steps before he managed to neutralize the might of the other party's sword strike. Terrifying. Is this the other party's true strength? Whoosh! She, who had no choice but to expose his strength, forced back the other party with one sword strike. Then, his figure flashed a few times, and he appeared before Xiao Chen. Give me the sage robes or die. She showed a stern expression, showing unprecedented anxiety in his eyes. Clearly, this sage robes were very important to him. This was the first time Xiao Chen faced this person. He did not look at the other party's left eye as he said calmly, "If you were fully confident of killing me, you would not be wasting words with me. I can give you the sage robes, but you have to agree to one condition." Xi's expression did not change as he said indifferently, "Speak. Hand Jianghe to me." Xiao Chen already confirmed that he could not control the black-clad sage robes. After thinking for a while, he made this decision. This was the only opportunity for him to rescue Jianghe. Aside from the black-clad sage robes, she did not seem to care about anything else. Deal. She did not hesitate, showing a smile on his face. The scarlet cross in the depths of the demonic eye reappeared, spinning in reverse at an incredible speed. After a while, a figure was tossed out of the demonic eye. It was the star-plucking bandit, Jianghe. Xiao Chen kept his promise, tossing the black-clad sage robes to the other party. Whoosh! She casually flipped the sage robes around and put them back on. The long black robes extended all the way to Xi's calves. Scarlet dragons swam on the robes like they were alive, looking incredibly strange. "I'll leave this trash to you." She smiled faintly and left in a flash, ignoring Xiao Chun. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He felt like he missed something. She agreed more straightforwardly than he expected. "What a loss. I am useless to him now. He wants to find the inheritance key's location on me." Wearing that sage robe is equivalent to wearing the entire Xiu dynasty. Jiang He said softly with a sigh after Xiao Chun helped him up. After Xiao Chun helped Jiang He up, he sighed and said softly. Xiao Chun shook his head and said, "It is probably not that simple. Let's not think about it. It is already worth it if I can get you back." "Ha ha ha. What a brother." Jiang He laughed happily when he heard that. He did not feel sullen about being in prison at all, feeling very carefree. Whoosh, whoosh. The black and white eggs, who had chased after the Thunder King, returned. After they landed, they circled Jiang He. Black Egg sniffed and said, "A familiar aura. It is very similar to the same person, but somewhat different." "Ha ha, I get it now. You are an egg laid by a dragon egg, right?" White Egg suddenly guffawed in wild joy. Xiao Chun raised his eyebrows as he looked at Jiang He. Is he a descendant of the previous generation Heaven Dragon? Chapter 23:20. An egg laid by a dragon egg. Naturally, the dragon egg in White Egg's mouth was the previous generation Heaven Dragon. However, it said that it sensed the aura of the previous generation Heaven Dragon from Jiang He. Xiao Chun suddenly recalled that when they first met, Jiang He said that he came from Ancestor Dragon City. Now that Xiao Chun thought about it, an ordinary mixed-blood dragon would not have had the opportunity to enter Ancestor Dragon City so early. If Jiang He were a Heaven Dragon's descendant, that would make sense. No matter what the previous generation Heaven Dragon did, a Heaven Dragon was, after all, a Heaven Dragon. He was an existence worthy of respect and worship in the divine Dragon Empire. It was understandable that a Heaven Dragon's descendant had some special privileges. Regardless of what Xiao Chun was thinking, Jiang He showed dark lines on his face. The black and white eggs circling him made him feel embarrassed. "Xiao Chun, what the heck are these two fellows?" Jiang He could not stand these two puppets sniffing around him like dogs. He quickly ran to Xiao Chun's side to ask for help. "The two of you should let him off first. Let me ask you, did that person catch up?" Xiao Chun was more concerned about the Thunder King's life or death. If this person did not die, he would not feel at ease. White Egg smiled and said, "That is natural. With the two of us making a move, there is a possibility of failure. However, although the blood-sucking vine's body was destroyed, its soul fled too quickly, entering that person's magic tool." Xiao Chun looked in the direction White Egg pointed at, where the Black Lotus Holy Sun, Ming Xian, was fighting with Chu Chaoyan. "Sooner or later, I will truly destroy him." Murderous intent flared in Xiao Chen's eyes. In his heart, the Kunlun Realm's Thunder King would always be someone he had to kill. This show is really exciting. Jiang He could not help sighing as he watched the majestic chaotic battle between sovereign emperors. Fortunately, this was the land of absolute beginning. Otherwise, even if it were Yin's city, it would have been torn down long ago. After she put on the Scarlet Dragon cloak, he stopped fighting with the other Wang Yans. He gathered his guests and rushed to the 9th altar. At some point in time, Yin Songming and Jin Yuan appeared beside him. The two seemed to intend to work together, working with the other princes to chase Wang Yun off the 9th altar. The originally chaotic situation had instead become clear after this. Yuan Zhen, who occupied the 9th altar and filled the sky with auspicious clouds, ended up becoming everyone's target. The entire second round of the Crown Prince battle was really like a changing king's flag, with one side singing and the other taking the stage. When one wave did not stop, another wave would rise. There would always be unexpected situations. What relationship do you have with the previous generation Heaven Dragon? It is impossible for she to capture you for no reason. As far as I know, the Heavenly Dragon does know where the inheritance key is. He discovered it in the Azure Dragon's old lands. Xiao Chun recovered his wits and asked Jiang He, who was beside him. Since I've saved you, there's no point in hiding my secret. Jianghe's expression turned grave, and his expression changed. The previous heavenly dragon was my father. However, I really do not know where the inheritance key is. If you save me because of that, you might be disappointed. The previous generation heaven dragon is my father. However, I really do not know where the inheritance key is. If you save me because of that, you will be disappointed. We are both from the dragon race and can be considered old acquaintances. I did not save you because of the inheritance key. I just wanted to clarify something. We are both from the dragon race and can be considered old acquaintances. I did not save you because of the inheritance key. I just have some things that I want to clarify. What Jianghe thought was his business. I believe you. Jianghe smiled faintly and stretched out his hand to slap Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun responded with a smile. The moment the two clasped hands, their trust was established. Because they knew each other, sometimes trust between people could be established in just a second, just like now. Whoosh! Chu Chaoyun descended from the sky and slowly landed beside the two. His complexion looked pretty good. It looked like he had not gotten injured from fighting against the two alone earlier. Yuan Zhen, this person really hid himself deeply. Everything fell into his trap. He raised a prince who did not exist to this point. Who knows how many people's plans were foiled? With the Buddha image's support, even with Shi and Yin Songming's help, Wang Yun's refinement of the Yin Imperial Sword continued to go uninterrupted. Far away, Wang Yin gathered Xiao Suo and the others, frowning slightly. Wang Yin hesitated on whether to join in and destroy this ninth altar or not. Realistically speaking, the fourth Prince Wang Yun was already Wang Yan's greatest competitor. At this moment, there was no right or wrong in Wang Yan's thoughts. Boom! Before Wang Yin could make a decision, Wang Yun laughed maniacally on the altar and pulled out the Yin Imperial Sword from the altar. The sword gave off a bright Buddhist light. This Wang Yun actually perfectly merged the Buddhist sect's great Tao with the Yinwu dynasty's dragon vein. Such a scene surpassed everyone's expectations. The many elders in the palace and the clouds were all stupefied. They had been rejecting the hidden spirit temple, not letting the hidden spirit temple interfere in the succession race. They even sided with the Shu dynasty's demonic Tao Hall. However, when the fourth prince pulled out the Yin Imperial Sword, they were stunned. The bright Buddhist light on the sword meant that the situation was no longer within their control. The Yin Emperor, who was restrained, revealed a mocking smile. These elders had been trying to play a balancing act, toying with both the Buddhist Tao and the demonic Tao in the palm of their hands. However, they did not know that in the eyes of the two factions, they were just pawns from the very start. Behind the smile was boundless sorrow. The Yin Emperor knew that no matter what the result was, the Yinwu dynasty was finished. The Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor felt very anxious. He walked to the corner again and communicated with the mysterious black figure. The Imperial Ancestor seemed to be saying that the succession race had already gone out of control. Even they could no longer control it. The third round would definitely start soon. Whoever won would become the crown prince. Their original plan had failed. Who are you speaking to? The Yin Emperor asked after the Imperial Ancestor finished speaking. The Imperial Ancestral Temple's Imperial Ancestor showed a cold expression as he replied indifferently. This fourth brother should be a pawn that you and the Hidden Spirit Temple arranged, right? Although I know that you are close to the Hidden Spirit Temple, I did not expect you to be so deranged. Had I known, I would have crippled you long ago. As for who I am speaking to, you will naturally know when the succession race is over. When the Yin Emperor heard that, he wanted to laugh loudly. However, his heart had already died, so he could not laugh. The Yin Emperor's expression was even more unsightly than crying. These people are truly hopeless. Inside the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, when Wang Yun drew his Yin Imperial Sword, the altar under him shattered. The entire core region began to shake violently, and the ground suddenly exploded. Xiao Qin's expression changed. Even when the many great perfection sovereign emperors attacked frantically, the ground in this absolute beginning land did not truly crack. But now, the ground had truly been sliced apart, and cracks visible to the naked eye had appeared. What exactly is this existence? To think that it possesses such power, even more horrifying than the many sovereign emperors combined. Rumble. The ground trembled even more intensely as a terrifyingly strong aura brewed underground. Shock waves spread out. Everyone, including Xiao Chun, had no choice but to retreat again and again. How strong? Just the shock waves were unblockable. After Xiao Chun landed, he felt like a baby being pushed back. He felt like a baby in front of this aura, constantly being pushed back. Crack! Before everyone's eyes, a small tree, sapling giving off flames appeared in the core region. Before Xiao Chun could feel shocked, the sapling grew wildly at a startling speed. In an instant, it grew to the size of a mountain. As the tree branches swayed, boundless life force poured out. Bathed in the green light, everyone's internal injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The ancient tree was still growing at an even faster rate. However, it was already large enough, giving the illusion that it had slowed down. It vaguely seemed like a condensed miniature of a vast dynasty's rise. The Yin Emperor Tree. This was the Yin Emperor Tree. This was the manifestation of a dynasty's accumulations of more than 100,000 years. It relied on the dynasty's dragon vein for nourishment, growing for more than 100,000 years. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All the princes could not suppress the impulse in their hearts. They strode forward and frantically rushed towards the Yin Emperor Tree. In the third round of the succession race, whoever stood at the top of the divine tree would become the dynasty's crown prince. However, there were still many people under the towering tree, not moving at all. Not only that, but they also showed some confusion on their faces. Where is the ethereal immortal palace? The divine tree has appeared, and the succession race is almost over. Why is there no sign of the ethereal immortal palace? The various outstanding talents who held the ethereal immortal palace keys looked around, searching for clues. Is it not time yet? Or is this prophecy the same as the previous ones? In the end, it turned out to be a lie. Chapter 23-21. The divine tree already appeared. Where was the ethereal immortal palace? The Yin Emperor Divine Tree appeared before everyone in its majestic form, swaying its branches. The exuberant life force turned into jade-green raindrops covering the vast core region. Looking at the core region, the towering trees towered into the sky, attracting everyone's attention. It started as a sapling, growing so fast that everyone could only look up at it, unable to see its peak. At the same time, this gave everyone a sense of the vastness of the ancient Yin Emperor Tomb's core region. This towering tree was very majestic. However, it was just a drop in the ocean in the core region. The place where it stood had its own magical power, able to contain everything. Compared to the other outstanding talents searching for clues to the ethereal immortal palace, Xiao Chun had a much easier time. As the green raindrops fell on him, his injuries slowly healed. After the green life force entered his body, it felt like a warm flame slowly burning. It felt warm, like a spring breeze blowing across the land, bringing a vast life force. Xiao Chun clenched his fist tightly, and the surging divine energy in his body surged like the waves of a great river. Inside, Niation's soul pool, the sea of soul power that had dried up started to bubble. The blue dragon divine seal was like an ancient god that had been asleep for a long time. When it opened its eyes, 3 rings of light appeared in the sea of soul energy, surging with waves. Xiao Chen's divine energy surged, and his soul returned to its peak. His tightly clenched right fist contained the vast energy brought by his divine energy and soul energy. This feeling was great. Xiao Chen's lips curled up in a smile. His soul was restricted, and his strength plummeted. This was not a good feeling. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 2 figures descended from the ancient Yin Emperor Tree. They were Hao Kai and Xiao Sua. Big brother, the 9th prince sent us down to protect you. He said that you're interested in the ethereal immortal palace and will definitely clash with the other factions. After Xiao Suo landed, he explained to Xiao Chun why he left Wang Yin. Hao Kai added, "This ninth prince is a pretty good person. He sent Wu Meng and the others to search for the Yin Emperor fruits and sent us back." Xiao Chun withdrew his gaze from the ancient Yin Emperor tree. Then, he said calmly, "He can only rely on himself for the final stage. If not for Wang Yin occupying the ninth altar, he would have become the crown prince. However, it is hard to say now." The third round of the crown prince selection was closely related to the second round. The ancient Yin Emperor tree grew on the dynasty's dragon vein. Wang Yin and Wang Yun, who had perfectly merged with the dragon vein, had a great advantage over the other princes. The position of crown prince could only be between the two of them. Nothing, still nothing. Chu Chaoyun, who was holding the ethereal immortal palace key tightly, opened his eyes and shook his head in disappointment. The current martial epoch was like rotten wood. It retained its shape, but lost its charm long ago. The momentum of the cycle of the epochs was unstoppable. The wings of time, the strongest transcendent great soul tool of the martial epoch, had once reversed the situation and defeated the Black Dragon King. There was no reason for it not to show up. At this moment, the various outstanding talents who had not climbed the Yin Emperor Divine Tree were all interested in the ethereal Immortal Palace. At first, he was still hiding it, but now that the tide had receded, he had no choice but to reveal it. Apart from the inheritance key, there were a total of 7 keys to the Immortal Palace. The tide receded, and it was just nice to see who held the key to the Immortal Palace. Xiao Chun looked around and glanced at Yuan Zhen, who was still seated on the lotus platform in the clouds, bathing in a bright Buddhist light. Yuan Zhen, who had the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's karma, frowned. It seemed like something exceeded his expectations. Xiao Chun was the one who gave Yuan Zhen his ethereal Immortal Palace key. There was no need to guess. 2 people stood on a distant mound. Yin Sangming and Jin Yuan stood side by side. Clearly, these two also had an ethereal Immortal Palace key. Shi, who wore the Scarlet Dragon cloak, had Ming Xian and Yang Qing accompanying him. The third ethereal Immortal Palace key had to be in his hands. The profound Heaven Holy Lands Wenrinyu and Dao Yin were together. Wenrinyu probably had an ethereal Immortal Palace key as well. Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan each had one. The final key had to be in the hands of the Silver Dragon King's group. When Xiao Chun looked over, a strange look flashed in his eyes. The Dragon God Crown Prince Qin Ming actually stood up. Unfortunately, Xiao Chun happened to meet the other party's gaze. A cold, murderous intent sent a chill through his body. Xiao Chun sighed in his heart. The ancient Yin Emperor tree's vigorous life force healed his injuries, allowing him to return to his peak. However, Qin Ming, who was nearly half dead and nearly crippled, underwent a nirvanic rebirth and improved. "Nephew, there is no need to lower yourself to his level for now. Finding the ethereal Immortal Palace is more important. His Majesty instructed us to prioritize the wings of time." The Silver Dragon King feared Qin Ming and could not hold back, charging over on impulse. Earlier, Qin Ming had been crushed into a pile of mush and was in a deep sleep. He did not know how horrifying Xiao Chun, who possessed Heavenly Slayer, was. If Qin Ming thought that he could defeat Xiao Chun after undergoing a nirvanic rebirth, that would not be good. "I know." Qin Ming showed a stern expression, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. However, he still slowly withdrew his gaze. Xiao Chun smiled faintly, not minding it. Previously, the chaotic scene had actually become somewhat deserted under the towering ancient tree. The other guests followed the princes and climbed up the ancient Yin Emperor tree. Even if this round did not have much to do with them, they still had to fight for the Yin Emperor fruits hidden on the tree. Not only did the Yin Emperor fruits have the miraculous effect of extending one's lifespan, but legend said that they could also increase one's luck, allowing one's luck to soar. The higher one's cultivation, the more one could sense the existence of fate. Naturally, one's desire for luck increased. Compared to the illusory, ethereal Immortal Palace and the Wings of Time, which involve a lot of things, these people were more interested in the tangible Yin Emperor fruits. Where's the ethereal immortal palace? The people with ethereal immortal palace keys were like Chu Chaoyan, feeling somewhat confused. Looking at the silent Chu Chaoyan, Xiao Chun suddenly asked, "Have you ever thought that the ethereal immortal palace will not appear without the inheritance key?" "What do you mean?" Xiao Chun said after some thought. "Actually, I think this. For tens of thousands of years, there have been predictions of the ethereal immortal palace appearing. However, none of them have been accurate. If it happened once or twice, it could be due to the standards of these diviners. However, there has to be another reason for the thousands of failures." Chu Chaoyan's eyes lit up. He had never heard of such a theory before. "I believe that in the past, someone must have gathered all 7 keys and only lacked the inheritance key. Since one lacks the inheritance key, even if the ethereal immortal palace appears, one cannot enter. In that case, what is the point of the ethereal immortal palace not appearing?" Understanding dawned on Chu Chaoyan. He said, "Are you saying that the ethereal immortal palace can sense the existence of the inheritance key or a similar formation? Without the 7 keys and the inheritance key, the formation in the ethereal immortal palace would not be activated, unable to appear." "That's right. That is my guess. Otherwise, there is no way to explain why the predictions for tens of thousands of years have failed time and time again." Xiao Chun lowered his head and casually fiddled with his fingers. Then, he said softly, "However, this is just a guess. After all, the inheritance key was lost long ago. There's no way to truly gather all the keys and test them." Right after Xiao Chun spoke, Chu Chaoyan shifted his gaze to Jiang He. "Don't look at me. I really don't know where the inheritance key is." Jiang He showed a helpless expression as he quickly explained. If he knew, he would have said it long ago. Not everyone could endure Shi's torture. Boom! Jiang He lowered his head and fiddled with his fingers. Then he suddenly raised his head. The instant Jiang He raised his head, the blue dragon image behind him turned solid. Its long hair fluttered, showing its sharpness. With a wave of his hand, he executed Firmament's rage. The rage of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon formed a gigantic palm. 5-element divine lightning flowed in the palm, rising and falling, looking like an immortal nation. Bang! This palm strike happened to clash with Yuan Zhen, who attacked without any warning. Yuan Zhen, who sat on a lotus platform in the sky, executed all things to nothing. Using the supreme Buddhist might, he formed a golden Buddha palm that covered the sky and sun. The 2 palms clashed, producing a loud sound and a strong wind. The ancient Yin Emperor tree, which towered into the clouds, trembled endlessly in the strong wind caused by the shock waves. The many guests searching for Yin Emperor fruits on the tree felt like the world collapsed. The weaker guests were instantly flung off, screaming endlessly. Retreat! Xiao Chun pulled Jiang He and turned into a flash of purple electric light as he retreated. After Xiao Suo landed, he tightly grasped the Scarlet Blood War banner. Then, together with Wu Meng, he shielded Xiao Chun, Chu Chaoyan, and Jiang He with grave expressions. The shock waves of the 2 palm strikes lingered in the air for a long time. The lightning and the shattered golden Buddha palm materialized, a horrifying, mysterious phenomenon. From an outsider's point of view, such a large space had become a terrifying forbidden zone. Bathed in a gentle Buddhist light, Yuan Zhen sat on the lotus platform and slowly passed through the forbidden zone formed by the shock waves. Then, he looked around and fixed his gaze on Jiang He. Yuan Zhen's purpose immediately became clear. Whoosh! 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 3 figures arrived in an instant. She led Ming Xian and Yang Qing over. Xiao Chun, it looks like you are not the only one who figured out the crux of the problem. After Chu Chaoyan said that, Jiang He felt very uneasy. He smiled bitterly endlessly. After all, the one in the sky was the unfathomable Yuan Zhen. Jiang He had already experienced the various means of the 3 charging over from the ground. Jiang He cursed endlessly in his heart. However, he was not cursing these people, but his heartless father. Father, you really harmed your son. If you really knew about the inheritance key, you could have just told me. That way, I would not be in such a state where I cannot explain myself. Hand this person to me. She did not waste any words, getting straight to the point. Sure. Xiao Chun was exceptionally straightforward, startling Jiang He and she. However, you have to use the scarlet dragon sacred robe you are wearing to exchange for it. She revealed a faint smile, and the deep abyssal cross in his left eye appeared again. Then, it turned into a blazing scarlet flame. Kacha! Kacha! Crack! Crack! This strange scarlet flame ignited at the bottom of Xi's left eye and burned endlessly. It was like it burned through the barriers of many worlds, traversing a boundless distance. Then, it burned out of Xi's eye socket and reached his eyebrows. The instant the scarlet flame burned out of Xi's eye socket, the fear from the deep abyss materialized and surged over. Combined with the smile on Xi's face, he looked extremely reclusive. Whoosh! When faced with this materialized fear, Xiao Suo and the others had to take a few steps back before slowly coming to a stop. Even so, they still did not dare to look at Xi's face. Xiao Chun, do you know who is your friend and who is your enemy in this place? She asked, not taking advantage of the instant his aura suppressed Xiao Chun and the others to come out. Instead, he continued to smile. Xiao Chun looked straight at Xi and replied calmly, my friends are in front of me and on my left and right. Naturally, Xiao Suo and Xiao Chun were in front. Chu Chaoyan and Jiang He were on his left and right. Wrong, she blurted out without hesitation. He showed a serious expression, exuding an unquestionable charm. The old epic has already aged, and the new epic is about to begin. Epics come and go, the cycle of reincarnation never ending. Do you really understand that reincarnation is more than just these 4 words? This was the general trend. It was a trend that no one could stay out of, and no one could stay out of it. Aside from me, the people around you might not have a choice or follow the trend. They might betray you, abandon you, kill you. She enunciated every word like a clap of thunder, ringing in Xiao Chen's mind, targeting the weakest spot in his heart. Betray you, abandon you, kill you. These 3 words lingered in Xiao Chen's mind, reverberating without scattering. Xiao Chen's expression changed drastically. He had thought of a similar problem when Chu Chaoyan sought out Xiao Chun for cooperation. Xi's confident words meant that aside from Xiao Chun, no one else could be trusted. Why is he so confident? Is he a contingency plan that Dragon Emperor Xiao Yin laid back then? Does he know my identity as a blue dragon? Chapter 23-22. Betray you, abandon you, kill you. This was like a heavy blow to Xiao Chen's head, rendering him speechless for a moment, unable to understand what was going on. Xiao Chen also felt like he had just woken up from a dream, as he had thought of everything the other party said before. Back then, when the sinister winds lingered in Black Wind Ridge, Chu Chaoyan explained the situation to Xiao Chun when he met him. Xiao Chun had thought of all this. Who could remain aloof from the situation? Who could guarantee that their hearts would not change? Who could say that they did not have a choice? Hence, when Xiao Chun swung his saber, he did not believe in heaven or the situation. He just wanted to swing his saber and break all restraints. However, it was not that simple. Even until now, Chu Chaoyan had not told Xiao Chun how he entered the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Xiao Suo had the Pirate Alliance behind him. After inheriting the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's undefeatable inheritance, could he guarantee that he would not be forced by the situation? Big brother. Big brother. Xiao Chun only addressed Xiao Chun as Big Brother after his defeat. Hao Kai was an expert of the Golden Crow Empire. He came to help Xiao Chun because of Ao Jiao. Without Ao Jiao, Xiao Chun could not predict how Hao Kai would treat Xiao Chun. As for Jiang He, who could be sure that he did not know the location of the inheritance key? No one, aside from Xiao Chun. Who is your friend? Who is your enemy? The scarlet flame in Xi's demonic eye that burned through countless barriers of worlds looked like a flickering blood tear. After forcing back Xiao Chun and the others with his aura, she did not choose to make a move. This made his words sound very convincing. If she had not said that earlier and directly attacked, no one might have been able to block him. The scarlet flame that came from the depths of Xi's I seemed to burn through countless barriers of worlds. It was more terrifying than many people imagined. Xiao Qin's heart wavered. He was practically certain that the other party was Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun's backup. Dragon Emperor Xiao Yun had the Blue Dragon bloodline in the first place. Given that Xiao Qin also had the Blue Dragon bloodline, he and she could be considered on the Blue Dragon side. If that was true, Xi's words would be even more believable. The bright moon in the sky. Have you ever wondered whose blood dyed that bright moon red? You've also held the Blood Dragon Saint robe in your hands. Don't you find it familiar? Others might not understand, but you should understand what I'm saying. You should make your own judgment on who to believe and who not to believe. Xi's words were too impactful, making Chu Chaoyun, Jiang He, Xiao Suo, and Wu Meng feel that something was wrong with Xiao Chun. In the past, Xiao Chun wouldn't have hesitated like this at all. What'd you do if I hand Jiang He to you? After a moment of silence, Xiao Chun looked up at Xi and asked. Hearing those words, Chu Chaoyun and Jiang He's expressions changed drastically, as if their hearts had been struck heavily. Jiang He felt as if his heart was shattering, and he was in extreme pain. His lips curled into a cold smile. He knew that Xiao Chun was still suspecting him of not telling the truth about the inheritance key. However, Xiao Chun really did not know where the inheritance key was. Chu Chaoyun showed a complicated expression, feeling somewhat disappointed. In the end, Xiao Chun was an ordinary person. Before the greater picture, he could not stay out of it. Xiao Chun also felt somewhat relieved. This was good as well. There were no more excuses. Everyone had no choice. However, they had their own karma, so the guilt in Xiao Chen's heart lessened significantly. However, for some reason, memories of the past filled Xiao Chen's mind. The various scenes in the Sky Dome realm and the Kunlun realm flashed. Boundless sorrow still filled the depths of Xiao Chen's heart. Time was truly merciless. Xiao Suo tightly grasped the Scarlet Blood War banner, feeling somewhat powerless. His expression turned fidgety and uneasy. Even the indomitable battle hunger of the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's inheritance seemed somewhat unstable, somewhat uncontrollable. Xiao Chun wondered, if Xiao Chun really handed over his friend, is this big brother still worth following? Hao Kai's expression changed slightly, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. However, he quickly recovered his normal expression. Xiao Chun only needed to remember what Ao Jiao instructed him to do. Xi's grave expression relaxed slightly. The scarlet flame burning in the demonic flame slowly dimmed as he gave his answer. Whether he knows the location of the inheritance key or not, it is certain that he is the one with the deepest connection to the inheritance key in the entire ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Since he cannot obtain any information while he is alive, let him die. In any case, even if Trash dies, there will be no loss. If we can really obtain information about the inheritance key, we will have the initiative. No matter what, we will be the winners. This was what she wanted to do after Xiao Chun handed Jiang He to him. He spoke bluntly, not hiding anything. Who could have imagined that right after she spoke, Xiao Chun would draw the tyrant's saber on his back? Then, he said softly, "Sorry, I'm afraid I cannot hand him to you. Whether he is friend or foe, I cannot forgive myself for sending my friend to his death." Right after Xiao Chun spoke, Jiang He, who was preparing to leave, felt stunned. This made Chu Chaoyun's lips curl up in a smile. His sadness immediately vanished. Time was the most merciless. However, one should not throw all excuses to it. There would always be some people and some things that remain the same even after a long time. Boom! The scarlet flame in Xi's eyes, which had already dimmed, soared and brightened again. Then, he asked seriously, "Are you sure? When those people react, when the bald donkey in the sky makes up his mind, do you know how miserable your death will be?" The strangeness of this place had already attracted the attention of the Silver Dragon King, Yin Songming, Wen Rinyu, and the others. However, they had not thought about the connection between the prophecy and the inheritance key. They were still waiting to see what she was planning on doing to Xiao Chun. However, once they figured it out, Xiao Chun, who still had to protect Jiang He, would definitely become everyone's target, mercilessly besieged. No one would be able to survive after making so many enemies. You don't have to care about that. When I draw my saber, you should understand what I mean. Xiao Qin's expression remained calm, his heart no longer fluctuating. As a bladesman, when Xiao Qin drew his saber to protect someone, he had already forgotten about life and death. When a gentleman drew his saber, it was a promise of life and death. There was no need to say anything else. Everything was written on the saber. Those who could understand would not ask too much. Silence. No one spoke. However, everyone could feel it. Xi's aura grew increasingly terrifying. The heavy aura pressed down on everyone, making it hard for them to breathe. Boom! For half my life, I drifted from place to place. For half my life, I was unrivaled, moving about without fear. This body is like a sword, unyielding pride. My heart is like the sun and the moon, shining brightly for 10,000 years. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's indomitable battle hunger traveled through time and space, descending once more. Xiao Suo used his physical body to wield the Scarlet Blood War Banner, forcefully driving the indomitable battle hunger. The war banner fluttered like waves, flapping loudly in the wind, forcefully pushing back Xi's aura. Then, Xiao Suo ferociously thrust out, using his fearless courage and the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's indomitable battle hunger to take the initiative to attack Xi. Go! I'll block him. Whoosh! A cold light flickered at the tip of the banner. The indomitable battle hunger gathered at one point. If a star were here, it would be able to pierce through it. Let's go. A look of determination flashed in Xiao Qin's eyes. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he made up his mind. He could not waste the opportunity that Xiao Suo created. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The group executed their movement techniques and retreated. Buzz. Xiao Suo seemed to be prepared to die. The spear that he thrust out looked like it would strike Xi's chest. The other party stretched out his right hand and grabbed it. The tip of the banner immediately buzzed endlessly. Rumble. As the tip of the banner buzzed, the ground shook wildly. The entire world seemed unstable. Whoosh, whoosh. Ming Xian and Yang Qing flashed past Xiao Suo, turning into two beams of dim light, one black and one azure, in pursuit. The auspicious clouds in the sky churned like waves. Yuan Zhen, who was sitting on the lotus platform in the air, suddenly stood up. A bright light flickered in Yuan Zhen's eyes. Clearly, he had already made up his mind, believing that Jiang he was the key to the ethereal Immortal Palace's appearance. Yuan Zhen leaped up gently and descended at lightning speed, carrying Buddhist might that filled the sky. The ethereal Immortal Palace must have something to do with Xiao Qin or the people around Xiao Qin, Qi Ming said with a grave expression when he saw Yuan Zhen and Ming Xian chasing after Xiao Qin. The ethereal Immortal Palace must have something to do with Xiao Qin or the people around Xiao Qin, Qi Ming said with a grave expression when he saw Yuan Zhen and Ming Xian chasing after Xiao Qin. The eyes of Sikong Shu, who had been tightly grasping the ethereal Immortal Palace key and searching for clues, lit up in realization. I understand. After him, the inheritance key's whereabouts must be with Jiang He. This fellow is the descendant of the previous generation Heaven Dragon. No matter what, we must capture him. Right after Sikong Shu spoke, he led the Silver Dragon King and Qi Ming in a frantic pursuit of Xiao Qin. Everyone here was an outstanding talent. As they grasped the ethereal Immortal Palace key, they could start a new epic. All of them had the determination of a super faction behind them. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were the strongest, outstanding talents of the entire martial epic. Perhaps they could not figure it out previously. However, given the current situation, they could guess the connection between the inheritance key and Jianghe. Yin, Songming, and the profound Heaven Holy Lands Wonrin Yu raised their heads at nearly the same time, looking in the direction that Xiao Qin took. Then, without hesitation, their figures flashed at the same time, leading their people in pursuit. Xiao Suo, who was holding the Scarlet Blood War banner, gritted his teeth. His facial features twisted wildly, but he still could not advance. Xiao Suo did not grab the Scarlet Blood War banner with a hand, but a scarlet dragon claw. Chapter 23:23. The blood dragon swimming on the sage cloak merged its claws with Shi's arm, firmly grasping the scarlet blood war banner. This made it hard for Xiao Suo to advance. What blocked him was not a person, but a vast dynasty. The moon reigned supreme, and the blood dragon supported him. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King's undefeatable battle hunger could force back Shi's aura. However, it could not stop a dynasty. How unfortunate. She sighed softly. I can't see the Scarlet Blood Pirate King personally. Defeating his inheritor is simply an unfair victory. Xiao Su gently twisted the hand holding the banner pole. He felt like he could not hold the banner properly. As Xiao Suo slowly moved the banner pole, demonic energy flowed through his palm and entered his body, looking like a demonic dragon rampaging through his body. Blood dyeing the sky. Xiao Suo suppressed the demonic Dao divine energy in his body and roared ferociously. A mysterious phenomenon immediately appeared. Blood dyed the sky red, and a vast sea roared. Huge waves surged, and a vast aura instantly formed. Boundless blood filled the sky, dyeing it red. Below was a vast sea with surging waves, each one taller than the one before. Xiao Suo's scarlet blood war banner covered his body, creating layers of waves. Then, he took a step forward with the scarlet blood war banner in his hand. The scarlet blood war banner broke through the other party's dragon claw and pierced his chest, launching a great counterattack. Roar! However, the blood dragon on Shi's black robes came to life in an instant. A scarlet dragon image circled around Shi. Then, the dragon head hovered above Shi's head and roared ferociously at the surging waves. Rumble! The waves surged back, and the blood-stained sky slowly faded. The blood dragon raged, directly forcing back the surging aura. Pusi! The backlash from the killing move forced Xiao Suo to vomit a mouthful of blood. He could no longer tightly grip the Scarlet Blood War banner. The other party's demonic energy war banner surged over like a spiral. First, Xiao Suo suffered a backlash. Then, he was ruthlessly knocked back by this attack. As soon as Zhang Xian landed on the ground, before he could even react, she waved the war banner in his hand. Whoosh! A miserable shriek rang out as the banner tip pierced Xiao Suo's chest, pinning him to the ground. The demonic Dao divine energy on the war banner flowed through Xiao Suo's chest, invading his limbs and bones like a ferocious tiger. Xiao Suo was immediately suppressed, pinned to the ground, unable to move. To an imperial lord, the heart was no longer a vital point unless they used their divine essence to extinguish all the vitality in the body. Otherwise, if a sovereign emperor were to leave behind a drop of blood that contained life force, they would be able to be reborn. However, without a rebirth mystic art, the process would be slower. Even if their physical bodies were destroyed and their divine seals were not destroyed in time, an Empyrean lord's soul could still escape. She's moved completely suppressed Xiao Qin's physical body and soul. Then, Xiao Qin used the Scarlet Blood War banner to pin him to the ground. Although it would not harm his foundation, the humiliation would be devastating. More importantly, Empyreans were difficult to kill. Since she could restrain Shi without spending too much effort, he would definitely know when to give up. Not killing Xiao Suo was not his benevolence. His main objective was to catch up to Xiao Chun. You are too weak. You have only scratched the surface of the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's indomitable battle hunger. After saying that, she swaggered over, not bothering to look back at Xiao Suo. Xiao Suo gripped the blood-colored war banner with both hands and clenched his teeth, wanting to pull it out. His facial features contorted, and even after exerting all his strength, it was to no avail. It had to be said that this was a great irony. Xiao Qin was pinned to the ground by his own Scarlet Blood War banner, yet he could not do anything about it. No one would want to endure such humiliation. However, Xiao Suo did not mind at all. Even though his divine energy and soul energy were suppressed, he was like an ordinary person now. He only had brute force left, and he did not give up. What was worse was that the tip of the banner pierced his chest. Every movement brought intense pain that could cause him to faint at any moment. However, Xiao Sua did not give up. He did not get distracted or hesitate. He focused on slowly pulling out the Scarlet Blood War banner. Xiao Sua showed a ferocious expression, and sweat dripped down his forehead like rain. He completely displayed the brute force, tenacity, and ferocity of a pirate captain. Kasie, she, who had already walked some distance away, stopped and turned to look. He saw blood spurting out of Xiao Sua's chest like a fountain as he lay on the ground. Xiao Sua had used his own brute force to pull out the Scarlet Blood War banner. The instant Xiao Sua pulled out the war banner, the restriction that she left in his body collapsed like a gushing river. Xiao Sua held up the Scarlet Blood War banner, allowing it to flutter in the air. Then he stood up again. The blood-stained war banner did not diminish its elegance at all. Instead, it added lofty aspirations and hot-bloodedness. The war banner fluttered noisily. It was not the wind blowing at the banner, but the banner fluttering in the wind. The blazing battle hunger in Xiao Sua's heart drove this once unrivaled war banner. As Xiao Sua held up the war banner, it was like he was not standing on the ground, but on a vast ocean. His battle hunger and his pirate heart seemed to infect this land of absolute beginning. A ship slowly broke out of the ground. A group of experts who once followed this war banner turned into war souls. They rowed a ship from the distant river of time, coming under orders. A vast ocean surged before Xi's eyes. Xiao Sua stood on the bow of the ship, and many other warships materialized behind him. The souls of experts stood on the bow of those warships, facing the wind and riding the waves. She revealed some surprise on his face. He asked in a strange tone, "Did you not feel humiliated at all in that earlier scene?" She had not expected Xiao Sua to stand up again. If it were an ordinary person, after being pinned to the ground by their own weapon, they would have broken down due to the great humiliation. This would leave an indelible shadow in their hearts in the future. However, she did not see any humiliation or hatred in Xiao Sua. She was not shocked at the strength of the Scarlet Blood War banner. To think that it could summon war souls of the past and materialize many strong warships. She was shocked at Xiao Sua's temperament. Such a person was the blind spot of his demonic eye of fear. If he was so resilient, he would not feel any fear in his heart. The Scarlet Blood Pirate King spent half his life wandering from place to place. He lived like a dog for half his life, but he never gave up on his pirate heart. The humiliation just now was nothing to me. Compared to the wind and rain I experienced on the sea, it is nothing. Xiao Sua showed a calm and unruffled expression, not showing any rage or dissatisfaction at all. Why bother? Even if you blocked me, at least two of the people chasing Xiao Chun are no weaker than me. Only death awaits him. Xiao Sua grabbed his collar and tossed it up. The black robes turned into a blood moon that slowly rose. Under the blood moon, she spoke unhurriedly as he looked at Xiao Sua. She stretched out his hand and beckoned. The demonic imperial sword, which was stabbed into the ground somewhere, buzzed and turned into a beam of black light that entered his palm. All this showed that she treated Xiao Sua as a true opponent and was truly enraged. All I need to know is that by blocking you, Xiao Chun will have one less strong opponent. There is no need for you to shake my will. After receiving a favor, I will remember it for life. It has already merged into my soul and bloodline. Xiao Sua lowered the war banner on the warship's bow and pointed it at the other party. After some thought, he said, "Attack, then." As she and Xiao Sua fought, Xiao Chun, Jiang He, Chu Chaoyun, and the others took the opportunity to retreat. However, Yuan Zhen, who was in the sky, used the auspicious clouds to pursue them. Xiao Chun could not shake off Yuan Zhen, who kept his eyes on him. The more problematic thing was that the Silver Dragon King, Sikong Shu, Dao Yin, Wen Rinyu, Yin Songming, Zhen Yuan, and the others held the ethereal Immortal Palace keys. All of them reacted. The crux of the ethereal Immortal Palace lay with Jiang He, so they gave chase as well. Yuan Zhen attacked again. Xiao Chun and the others did not want to waste time with him, so they delayed themselves and dodged. Boom! The ground within 5,000 kilometers caved in, and a huge palm imprint appeared. If this palm strike landed, it would not be good. They would either die or be injured. The sea of bitterness is boundless. Repent, and the shore is at hand. While the group dodged, Yuanzhun landed in front of them, blocking their path. A sea of bitterness appeared. Yuanzhun sat on a lotus platform, looking at the others from a distance. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Ming Xian and Yang Qing arrived in an instant. The Silver Dragon King and Sikong Shu landed together. Yin, Sangming, and Jin Yuan blocked the left path. Dao Yin and Wan Rinyu were even farther away, rushing over unhurriedly. Ambushes immediately surrounded the group. There was no way out in the sky or on the ground. Xiaochen looked around and sighed. He already made up his mind. He looked at Jiang He and said, "As a friend, this is as far as I can help you. I'll deal with this monk. I'll help block the Silver Dragon King and Sikong Shu." Chu Chaoyan added, "Leave Ming Xian and Yang Qing to me." Since there was no way out in the sky or on the ground, Xiao Chun could only help Jiang He block the strongest few and see if Jiang He could take the opportunity to break out. Even if he didn't say anything, I would be too embarrassed to remain here. Many thanks. Jiang He knew that for Xiao Chun to be able to help him this much, he had already done his best, far surpassing that of a friend. Without any hesitation or delay, a dragon roar came from Jiang He's body as he soared towards a certain opening. The mighty dragon roar caused the surroundings to tremble slightly under this furious roar. Jiang He's body exuded a rare dragon might, giving off an ethereal and holy feeling. The mysteries of the heaven dragon. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up as he immediately recognized it. It looked like this Jiang He was not weak either. What was the mysteries of the heaven dragon? One had to have great boldness and breadth of mind to be able to encompass the boundless sky. However large the sky was, one's heart had to be as large as the sky. One had to be able to encompass the sky and not become one with it, walking the path of no return. One had to be one with the sky and yet be outside it. This was where the ethereal feeling came from. Attack. Seeing that Jiang He wanted to flee, a murderous intent appeared in Yuanzhun's eyes as he immediately attacked. Xiao Chun, Chu Chaoyan, and Hao Kai had expected this long ago. Their figures flashed as they blocked their opponents. They had to create a path of survival for Jiang He amidst this desperate situation where he was being ambushed from every direction. However, just at this moment, something strange happened. All the cultivators holding the ethereal Immortal Palace keys felt their keys tremble for no reason. All of them felt their keys trembling for no reason, and their faces instantly changed. Chapter 23-24. The ethereal Immortal Palace keys trembled for no reason. Without any warning, the ethereal Immortal Palace keys in everyone's hands suddenly trembled for no reason. Wait a moment. Sikong Shu stopped the Silver Dragon King and Qin Ming, who were about to attack Jiang He. The key in his hand gave off a faint glow as it trembled endlessly. Qin Ming and the Silver Dragon King stared at the key, their expressions changing slightly. What's going on? Qin Ming looked at Sikong Shu in confusion. Sikong Shu could not hide his nervousness. Even after coming to the ancient Yin Emperor tomb for so long, the key had not shown any strange movements. Now it suddenly moved like it was summoned by something. Clearly, the key could not possibly tremble for no reason. There had to be a reason. What was the reason? Naturally, the first thing that came to mind was whether the ethereal Immortal Palace was about to appear. The ethereal Immortal Palace is about to appear? The Silver Dragon King asked excitedly, excitement flashing in his eyes. It is highly possible. It looks like the ethereal Immortal Palace does not have much to do with Jiang He. Perhaps we had guessed wrong before. Let Bai Yunfei and Xia Hozhen guard outside, and we should not chase anymore. We should not give chase, Sikong Shu said softly after some thought as he watched Jiang He leave. The ethereal Immortal Palace might appear in the next moment. At that time, it would be hard to avoid conflict. It would be foolish to split the main force to chase after Jiang He. Above the sea of bitterness, Yuanzhun, who sat on a lotus platform, quietly looked at the key floating before him. It appeared. Yuan Jun frowned slightly. He did not feel as excited as the Silver Dragon King and Qin Ming. Yuan Jun's eyes were empty, showing neither joy nor sorrow. It looks like the ethereal Immortal Palace is really going to appear. Where will it be? Yin Xiaoming tightly grasped the key with his right fist, trembling slightly. As he looked around, he revealed a terrifying aura in his eyes. The trembling key startled everyone, disrupting what they were doing. Congratulations. I'm going to spare your life, she said indifferently as he looked at the injured Xiao Sa. Then, he ignored the other party and quickly met up with Ming Xian and Yang Qing. What's going on? Xiao Sua's fighting spirit had yet to fade. However, his injuries could no longer support him. If she had persisted earlier, Xiao Sua might not have been able to last much longer. However, the other party suddenly lost interest in Xiao Sa. Then, he put on the robes again and fled far away. Whatever, let's heal first. Without giving it any further thought, Xiao Sua swallowed a medicinal pill and left silently. Chu Chaoyun and Xiao Chun exchanged a look. The keys to the ethereal palace in their hands were both trembling. The profound meaning of the Heaven Dragon? It was too much of a coincidence that the Divine Palace key changed right after Jiang he unleashed his Heaven Dragon's esoteric way. The others were attracted by the movement of the key and might not have noticed this detail. However, Xiao Chun, who also grasped the mysteries of the Heaven Dragon, would not miss this. He muttered to himself, did the previous Heaven Dragon really know about the inheritance key? Be that as it may, it was too late to ask Jiang He now. Everyone's attention was drawn to the key in their hands. Just a moment ago, Jiang He had been the target of everyone. After a few glances, he watched him leave. Since the ethereal Immortal Palace had yet to appear, they naturally had to capture him. The descendant of the Heaven Dragon who had limitless possibilities with the inheritance key. Now that the Immortal Palace was about to appear, chasing after him would be putting the cart before the horse. Xiao Chun took a quick look around. Aside from a few weak sovereign emperors still chasing Jiang He, there were no other sovereign emperors. The other super experts like Dao Yin, Yuan Jun, and the others did not take the initiative to attack. Whoosh! Just as Zhang Xian was deep in thought, the ethereal palace key suddenly flew out of his hand and flew in a certain direction. In the dusky sky, it was like a meteor shooting out rays of light. It was not just Xiao Chun. Chu Chaoyun, Yin Songming, Shi, Yuan Jun, Wen Rinyu, and Sikong Shu all lost control of their ethereal Immortal Palace keys. Ha chase. However, there was not the slightest bit of panic on most people's faces. Instead, it was replaced by wild joy. The Silver Dragon King roared ferociously. Then, together with Sikong Shu and Qin Ming, they chased after the flowing light. The Immortal Palace is really going to appear. A fanatical look flashed in Yin Songming's eyes. He appeared excited and overjoyed. It's not time to get excited yet. Obtaining the wings of time will be perfect. Zhen Yuan, who was at the side, said calmly. Right, let's go as well. Yin Songming suppressed the excitement in his heart. Then, his expression slowly turned calm, and his eyes filled with sharpness. Suddenly, a black demonic image burst out of Zhen Yuan's eyes. The demonic image surged and surged. If Xiao Chun were here, he would definitely recognize this as the Black Dragon King's demonic nature energy that Zhen Yuan absorbed in the soaring dragon great realm. Whoosh! In the next moment, the demonic image burst out and wrapped around Yin Songming, turning into a black tornado as it charged forward. Everywhere it passed, sand and rocks flew. Ferocious roars rang out endlessly, and the sky changed color, inspiring fear. The people who held the ethereal Immortal Palace keys did not want to fall behind. They all brought out their strongest means, moving like lightning bolts as they gave chase. Did you see Jiang He? After she met up with Yang Qing and Ming Xian, he immediately asked about Jiang He's whereabouts. After some thought, Ming Xian replied, after the ethereal Immortal Palace keys moved strangely, I feared that something big would happen, so I did not give chase and waited for my lord to come. I only sent a few people to chase after him. I don't know if we can catch up. What's wrong? Could it be that Jiang, he is still useful? The Azure Lotus Holy Daughter asked softly, her eyes sparkling. After some thought, she replied, the ethereal Immortal Palace keys would not move for no reason. The mystery of Jiang, he has not been solved yet. My intuition tells me that this person is very useful. What should we do now? Should I chase after him? Ming Xian asked as he looked at Shi, raising his eyebrows. Shi's expression did not change as he replied indifferently. There's no need. If he really has karma, he will not be able to leave even if he wants to. Let's go after the keys. Shi gently flapped his cloak, and a dragon roar rang out. The blood dragon roared and soared into the air, carrying the three into the air. Jiang He, who she said could not escape karma, was not having a good time either. Although no super experts chased after Jiang He, some of the great perfection sovereign emperors were demonic Dao outstanding talents, great desolate Ian bloodlines, and sect elders. Even a two-veined sovereign emperor like Shao Chun could not afford to offend them. Fortunately, Shao Chun grasped the Heaven Dragon's mysteries. These people would not be able to catch up to him quickly. However, if this continued, he would still die when he ran out of divine energy. Shao Chun had never intended to join in on the excitement of the ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Jiang he felt very depressed that he ended up causing a great calamity for no reason. Oh no! Suddenly, Jiang He's expression changed slightly. He drew his saber and swung it around. Bang! The saber light struck a huge snake's body. A strong rebound knocked Jiang He back, and blood leaked out of a corner of his mouth. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures landed. They were the White Marsh Beast Empires by Yun Fei and the Hound Lion Empire's Xiahou Zun. Jiang He, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Bai Yunfei smiled faintly. He and Xiahou Zun had been guarding the periphery under Si Kongshu's orders. This was to prevent Jiang He from breaking out of the encirclement with Xiao Chen's help, not giving him a true chance to flee. Xiahou Zun said indifferently, Jiang He, come with us obediently. On account that we are both from the Bushan Palace, we will not make things too difficult for you compared to those demonic Dao sovereign emperors. The path ahead was blocked, and there were pursuers behind. Jiang He's situation immediately turned extremely bad. His thoughts raced as he felt helpless. Jiang He thought about how carefree and unfettered he was in the Great Thousand Realms. With his Heaven Dragon's mysteries, practically no one could do anything to him. However, after coming to the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, he realized that it was not that others could not do anything to him. It was just that he had not run into too many experts in the past. The ancient Yin Emperor tomb was a place where the elite sovereign emperors were continuously eliminated. Nearly all of the strongest sovereign emperors under 500 years old in the entire martial epoch gathered here. Jiang He's carefree life in the past was restricted in this ancient Yin Emperor tomb. Boom! Suddenly, two beams of black light surged out. Everywhere they passed, life force extinguished. They instantly bound up by Yun Fei and Xiahou Zun. Whoosh! Grim Reaper Lin Feng descended from the sky and landed beside Jiang He. Come with me. Lin Feng did not say anything more. He grabbed Jiang He, wanted to bring him away. You are. I'll explain later. Seeing that Lin Feng did not show any murderous intent, Jiang He felt suspicious as he quickly followed him. By the time Bai Yun Fei and Xiahou Zun dealt with the troublesome Death Dao Sovereign Emperor's mysteries, the two could no longer be seen. This place should be safe for now, Lin Feng said calmly as he looked around after landing. Along the way, Lin Feng had already explained his identity. He was Xiao Chen's friend in the Heavenly Alliance. Jiang He smiled bitterly. In the end, he could not escape being saved by Xiao Chen's good friend. Jiang He smiled bitterly. In the end, he could not escape being saved by Xiao Chen's good friend. Fortunately, Jiang He had a cheerful personality and did not mind. Just as he wanted to say something, the ethereal Immortal Palace is about to appear. Lin Feng looked into the distance. 7 beams of light slowly gathered there. They looked like 7 divine birds with their heads connected to their tails, spiraling around like the blazing sun in the sky. Chapter 23-25. The 7 ethereal immortal palace keys connected like divine birds, looking resplendent and dazzling. On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Chun, Chu Chaoyun, and the other 2 looked into the distance, entering deep thought. Xiao Chun thought to himself, the 7 ethereal immortal palace keys formed a circle, looking incredibly dazzling. However, the circle was pitch black. This formed a clear contrast with the light of the keys. That pitch-black circle was frighteningly dark, giving off faint spatial fluctuations. To others, the scene before them looked like a total solar eclipse. Aside from slight shock, they could not see any other mysteries or obtain any more information. However, the nearby cultivators were either great perfection, sovereign emperors, or outstanding talents like Xiao Chun. They could sense the space-time fluctuations in the black hole, so they frowned heavily and showed grave expressions. The space-time Great Tao split into 2. One was the Time Tao, and the other was the Space Great Tao. The latter was still fine. The sovereign emperors present had many experts who comprehended the Space Great Tao or soul tools or secret techniques related to the Space Great Tao. For example, Xiao Chen's Firmament's Rage had a deep connection to the Space Great Tao. The 5-element divine lightning grew endlessly in Xiao Chen's palm, materializing a simplified small world. This was the manifestation of the Space Great Tao. Another example was someone like Dao Yin, who grasped the 10th layer Ice Tao domain and could materialize a small world. However, the former, the Time Tao, was a great Tao that inspired despair. If one grasped a little of it, one could sweep through the world. Even during the peak of the martial epoch, no one grasped the Time Tao, not to mention the current martial epoch. Xiao Chen's state of cycle touched upon the Time Tao. However, it was far from the Time Tao. The faint fluctuations made it easy to connect it to the wings of time. At the same time, the results of the 3rd round of the succession race on the ancient Yin Emperor tree slowly became clear. The 9th Prince Wang Yin and the 4th Prince Wang Yun led the other princes by a large margin. If nothing unexpected happened, these 2 would ascend to the top of the Yin Emperor tree and decide the victor. However, not many people paid attention to the final outcome of this succession race. The various feudal lords and noble clan powerhouses in the palace focused their gazes on the black hole, giving off space-time fluctuations. They showed horrified expressions and panted, not daring to say anything. This was too shocking. The ethereal immortal palace actually appeared. The strongest soul tool in the world, the wings of time, was in there as the epoch changed. The ethereal immortal palace's importance went without saying. Perhaps whoever grasped the wings of time would have the absolute initiative at this juncture of the change of epochs. It could even be said that whoever grasped the wings of time would be the next master of the era. The sovereign emperor could not help feeling. Now that it involved the change of an epoch, the situation was likely not something that the Imperial Ancestral Temple could control. In the past, foe gods had never paid attention to the prophecies of the ethereal immortal palace. However, if the ethereal immortal palace really appeared, no foe god would be able to sit still. Chen Zhao's Dragon Palace appeared, and dragon. At this moment, foe gods would definitely be alarmed. At that time, the imperial capital Yin City might become a battlefield for foe gods. Emperor and Dao Emperor and Shun and Had and Mountain into and one. And 3 people stood at the foot of the huge Buddha statue at the summit of Spirit Vulture Mountain. Abbot Suyi stood in the middle, while sword god Su Han and the spring snow bladesman Pan Huang stood on the left and right. The 3 of them looked down the mountain. Even Pan Huang, who had always been aloof, showed a grave expression. The ethereal immortal palace really appeared. Abbot Suyi pressed his palms together and let out a long sigh, his tone strangely grave. Su Han hugged his sword. Even from a great distance, he seemed to be able to see everything that happened in the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, not missing out on any details. Who do you think is his pawn? Pan Huang smiled and retorted, "Who are you talking about?" Su Han frowned slightly, somewhat unable to suppress his murderous intent. He retorted, "Stop putting on an act. Do you know who I'm talking about?" "Ha! All right, I'll stop messing around with you. You do not dare to say his name, but I have nothing to fear. Are you trying to ask who among the people with the ethereal immortal palace keys is the faux god world's holy lord's pawn?" Pan Huang did not care about the sword god's murderous intent. He smiled and continued, "The geniuses nurtured by the 5 super factions are all possible. Perhaps it is Qin Ming, perhaps it is Wen Rinyu, perhaps it is Chu Chaoyan. In any case, it can't be Xiao Chun, right?" Su Han interrupted Pan Huang, saying softly, "Right?" Pan Huang's expression slowly turned serious. After some thought, he said, "As for who is most likely, naturally, it is Qin Ming. You and I both know that. The Golden Dragon Emperor's bloodline is a dog that he personally nurtured. Not to mention anything else, they are at least loyal." Hee hee. Abbot Su Yi felt a mountainous pressure as he stood between the two. Only these two people dared to talk about the current era master without any inhibitions. Although the martial epic was on the verge of collapse, no matter what, the epic master was a horrifying existence that deterred an entire epic. Putting aside the Holy Lord, Xiao Chun looked at the current situation. Experts that only faux gods could sense were rushing over from all directions. Their strong auras spread throughout the Yanwu dynasty. These experts stared at the imperial capital, Yin City, like tigers eyeing their prey. Among them were some horrifying old monsters. The faux gods of the righteous Tao and demonic Tao descended silently. However, Su Han and Pan Huang chatted cheerfully, not caring about the arrival of these faux gods. Su Yi withdrew his gaze and sighed softly. The ethereal immortal palace has appeared, and the epic has changed. Strong enemies surround us, making life and death hard to predict. However, the two of you remain so calm. This old monk admires you. Since the two of us have already lit our divine flames, we are destined to be unable to sever the karma of the martial epic. No matter the outcome, today should be the last time we make a move." It was as if Su Han was speaking his last words before his death. Words that would shock the world had been uttered by Su Han so casually. There was no nostalgia or pity in Su Hanshan's eyes. Instead, there was a fanaticism that bordered on madness. That was his dedication to the Sword Tao. To Su Han, life and death were not as important as the Sword Tao. Pan Huang smiled faintly and said, "Your backyard is in trouble. You should be even more anxious than the two of us. Can you deal with it?" When Su Yi heard that, his expression suddenly changed. Naturally, Pan Huang referred to Yuan Zhen, who appeared with the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's karma. After a pause, Su Yi said somewhat helplessly, "Junior brother, Su Yun already made a move. However, even if he successfully subdued Yuan Zhen, it would be pointless. The situation is already set. Be it the Black Lotus Church, the Azure Lotus Church, or the current Orthodox Buddhist sect, they were the two sides of the Kitagarbha Buddha. However, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva had a completely different philosophy. Once the Kitagarbha Buddha gained the upper hand, the golden Kitagarbha Buddha statue on Spirit Vulture Mountain would instantly shatter. The consequences would be even more severe than the Black Lotus Church gaining the upper hand. The various feudal lords and noble clan powerhouses in the palace already felt somewhat restless, feeling very unnatural. They could all guess that a startling battle would take place. A group of peerless experts that they could not understand would definitely fight each other over the wings of time. The Yanwu dynasty, which possessed deep accumulations, was like a small boat in a storm before this group of experts, unable to decide its own fate. Perhaps the Yanwu dynasty's clan elders already knew about this and participated in it. However, this made things difficult for them. They did not know what to do. Under the gazes of a group of faux gods, they did not dare to leave even if they wanted to. If they did not leave, they feared being implicated. The aloof experts who dominated a region or ruled the world all felt how insignificant they were before the epic's change. However, in reality, they did not know. The faux gods who looked so terrifying and powerful that they could not understand could not help themselves either. They were also like a small boat in a storm that could capsize at any moment. The fear and anxiety in his heart were not any less than what they were feeling. In fact, he could empathize with them even more. One could say that the more one gained, the more one feared losing. However, more accurately, the deeper the karma, the harder it was to escape. Chapter 23-26. In the ancient Yin Emperor tomb, the 7 ethereal palace keys turned into a divine bird that was connected from head to tail, spinning nonstop. The pitch-black black hole in the circle was faintly emitting space-time fluctuations. Everyone present felt that it was the passageway to the Immortal Palace. However, guessing was just guessing. In front of the real passageway, the fanatical group of people all became cautious. A space-time tunnel. This was a space-time passageway. Who knew where it would lead to? There were just too many unexpected things. There was no lack of space-time cracks in the major wide world. Even if a faux god was unfortunate enough to be sucked into one, it would be difficult for them to escape. Furthermore, this group of sovereign emperors naturally did not dare to act rashly. Are you going in? Qin Ming had an impulse in his heart, and a fanatical flame flashed in his eyes. The dragon race had once used the wings of time to defeat the unparalleled Black Dragon King. Qin Ming had a special feeling toward the Immortal Palace and the Wings of Time. Xikong Shu looked around and saw Yuan Zhen, Yin Songming, Wen Rinyu, and the others frowning slightly. They were all thinking of a foolproof plan, not intending to act rashly. It's better to be cautious. Although we have the treasure that the purple gold dragon emperor entrusted to us, we shouldn't reveal it too early. Withdrawing his gaze, Xikong Shu said in a deep voice. The fervor in Qin Ming's eyes intensified. He said softly, "What are you afraid of? Riches and honor come from danger. For the sake of the Wings of Time, we can definitely take this risk. As long as we seize the initiative, the Wings of Time will definitely be ours." The Silver Dragon King advised with a grave expression, "Don't be rash. Who here can guarantee that they do not have trump cards? Let's make a plan before we act. There are quite a few people here, and I still can't see through them." Sigh. Upon hearing the Silver Dragon King's sigh, Qin Mu's lips twitched, clearly dissatisfied. But in the end, he calmed down and didn't say anything more. While the group watched and hesitated, Jiang He, who was now far away from the core zone, was with Lin Feng. When the 7 keys were connected end to end, he suddenly felt his heartbeat quicken and his blood flow reverse. He was in a trance, and his face was frighteningly pale. How unbearable! Jiang He dropped to his knees with a thump, clutching his chest as he looked up into the distance at the dazzling circle of light where the key was connected to the divine bird. The field of vision was blurry and hazy. Nothing could be seen clearly. The inheritance key, is it really with me? Father, what did you do to me? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Jiang He, Jiang He. Beside him, Lin Feng jumped in fright and crouched to check on Jiang He's condition. Jiang He's consciousness blurred. All he felt was that he was immeasurably weak, and someone seemed to be calling his name beside his ear. His vision was filled with the bright light of the key. Compared to the physical pain, his heart hurt more. At this moment, no matter how stupid he was, he could guess that the inheritance key was really related to him. But why didn't his father tell him? Why didn't you tell me? In his hazy consciousness, in his blurry vision, a figure appeared in the boundless light. That silhouette seemed illusory and ethereal under the light. Behind him, there was a little guy squinting his eyes as he looked at the back of the tall mountain with a gaze of worship. "Here, what do you think an expert is?" The little guy clenched his fists, clenched his teeth, and firmly said, "Of course it's people like Father. Only then can they be experts." Xiao Qian's father was a heaven dragon that everyone in the divine dragon empire respected. He was a heaven dragon that was even more powerful than the purple gold dragon emperor. Am I an expert? However, this empire has already rotted to its roots, becoming a dog in someone else's hands. I'm just a slightly stronger dog. The little guy revealed a confused expression on his cute face. He could not understand what his father was saying. The little guy bit his finger, unable to understand no matter how he thought about it. This made his young and tender face look even cuter. Although that figure did not turn around, Xiao Chun could clearly see his appearance. He could not help smiling. Here, father is leaving. Remember to do your homework properly in the future. Don't ever be lazy. The little guy felt nervous for some reason. He ran over and hugged that figure's legs stubbornly. Why does father have to leave? Little Jiang, he does not allow father to leave. Why? Because father has the heart of an expert. Little Jiang, you have to remember that being an expert is not about strength, but about one's heart. If you can understand this, you will become a heaven dragon one day as well. Right after Xiao Chun spoke, no matter how the little guy called out, that figure gradually moved further away until it vanished. The scene changed. A group of youths surrounded the little guy in Ancestor Dragon City, using their fists and legs to beat him up. Little bastard, you stole young Master Qin's things again. That's what you get for stealing. That's what you get for stealing. I'll beat you to death. You are indeed a lowly mixed blood dragon. I wonder, why are you staying in Ancestor Dragon City? The little guy curled up on the ground. His face was swollen, but he tightly hugged his saber in his embrace, unwilling to let go. The little guy clenched his teeth. His eyes watered, but no tears fell. He stubbornly said, I'm not a thief. I'm not a thief. This is my father's saber. My father gave it to me. Ha ha ha. Your father is a sinner. Everything he has already been confiscated. Now, it all belongs to young Master Qiming. Your father overestimated himself, wanting to rebel and sneak attack the purple gold dragon emperor. Sparing your life is a gift from the Qin clan. I won't allow you to say that my father is a heaven dragon. He is a heaven dragon. The little guy on the ground suddenly erupted with a ferocious expression, knocking back all the surrounding youths. Bang! However, the little guy only took 2 steps before he went flying back. A footprint appeared on his face, and blood flowed from his nose. The youth, Qin Ming, appeared and said indifferently, Little mixed blood dragon, just keep this broken saber. This young master has many treasures. If you dare to steal in the future, it will not be as simple as beating you up. Bastard. Trash mixed blood dragon. Where'd you get the face to stay in Ancestor Dragon City with us divine dragon bloodlines? The youths slowly went far away. However, the unpleasant words did not disappear. The little guy hugged his saber and looked at the sky, ignoring these humiliating words. In his heart, he was thinking about why his father had left and why he hadn't said anything to him. In the blink of an eye, the little guy turned into Jiang He. Then he hugged his saber and looked at Ancestor Dragon City behind him. Jiang He showed a resolute and stubborn gaze as he clenched his right fist and said, I must find you. I want to ask you why. Then he left Ancestor Dragon City without even looking back. Lin Feng felt somewhat helpless. After Jiang He fell, he started babbling nonsense, occasionally asking why. Why do you have so many whys? You are about to die. What should I do now? Lin Feng felt somewhat helpless. He had never heard of Jiang He's situation before. His bloodline flowed in reverse. His divine energy turned chaotic, and his divine seal reversed. To think that he was still alive. Lin Feng, who was proficient in the Death Dao, could not understand this strange situation. Just as Lin Feng was at his wit's end, his expression changed slightly. Then, he saw Jiang He's chest release a faint light. After a while, the light spread to Jiang He's entire body, slowly turning immaterial. What the heck? Lin Feng bent over, wanting to check. Then, he placed his hand on Jiang He's body. Without any warning, the two vanished into thin air. Crack! At the same time, the black hole in the ring of light formed by the key suddenly shattered. As Xiao Chun looked into the circle, he saw a world inside. A palace that was sparkling and translucent like beautiful jade and gave off a celestial spiritual aura was faintly discernible. That palace looked ethereal amid the clouds, inspiring yearning. The ethereal Immortal Palace. Yin Songming, the Silver Dragon King, and the others could no longer hold themselves back. To think of a perfect plan? To be cautious, someone else would take the initiative to enter the ethereal immortal palace. Whoosh! Immediately, light and figures flickered. Yuan Zhen, Yin Songming, and the others executed their various means, executing exquisite movement techniques as they flew towards the tunnel. On the demon blood vulture's back, Xiao Chun entered deep thought, not daring to be sure. Is it really an ethereal immortal palace? Unfortunately, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor had no choice but to erase all his memories of the ethereal immortal palace. Back then, under the pressure of the Holy Lord and the experts under him, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor had been forced to hand over the wings of time. He had no choice but to erase his memories of this. Even though it was right before him, Xiao Chun could not learn too many clues. This is the ethereal immortal palace. The wings of time must be in there. Chu Chaoyun, who was beside Xiao Chun, showed a determined expression as he stood up and prepared to fly in. Xiao Chun asked, "Are you not going in with us? We'll talk after we enter." Chu Chaoyun's body paused slightly. After hesitating for a moment, he stayed behind in the end. "Big brother, is this person trustworthy?" Xiao Suo, who had been recuperating on the demon blood vulture, suddenly opened his eyes and asked as he watched Chu Chaoyun leave. Hao Kai also looked at Xiao Chun. After all, the two did not know about the past grudges between Chu Chaoyun and Xiao Chun. It was normal for Hao Kai to have such doubts. Is he trustworthy? Xiao Chun did not know, but he knew how to answer this question. He replied calmly, "My saber will never attack him first." Chapter 23-27. There were many mysteries about Chu Chaoyun. How did he enter the ancient Yin Emperor tomb? What secrets did he have that he cannot speak of? It was hard for Xiao Chun to answer whether he believed it or not. However, Xiao Chun was certain that no matter what, he would not take the initiative to attack Chu Chaoyun. "Come, let's go as well." Xiao Chun shouted, and the demon blood vulture turned into a beam of scarlet light, entering the space-time tunnel. Whoosh! The instant the demon blood vulture passed through the key, the scene changed. The demon blood vulture appeared in a mirror-smooth, immortal lake with mist-like spiritual energy. A magnificent palace made of white jade stood in the center of the immortal lake. The palace looked like the most perfect work of art in the world. It was pure white and flawless, so perfect that it did not seem like something of this world. This made one sigh in amazement. When one looked at it, one could not bear to look away. The palace was like an otherworldly fairy, so beautiful that it entered one's heart. With just one look, one could not let it slip away. It made one forget everything, intoxicated with it, unable to wake up from this beautiful dream. That's not right. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly as he suddenly startled awake. His mind felt dazed. When Xiao Chen's vision cleared, he saw that Xiao Suo and Wu Meng had already jumped off the demon blood vulture. As the two walked on the lake, they headed for the immortal palace. However, what was even more horrifying was that the two of them were slowly sinking deeper and deeper into the lake. Yet, they did not even realize it. Xiao Chun soared into the air and turned into a beam of light before landing on the two. Then he grabbed one with each hand and pulled, ferociously pulling the two out. Whoosh! Water splashed everywhere, startling Xiao Suo and Wu Meng to their senses. They asked with some confusion, "What happened?" Xiao Chun put down the two and honestly told them what he saw. The two paled in fright. They felt a chill run down their backs, and their bodies trembled slightly. This was too terrifying. They did not feel anything at all. The two were considered experts, but they did not feel anything earlier. If not for Xiao Chun, they might have already sunk to the bottom of the lake. "Big brother, look!" On the surface of the lake, Xiao Suo suddenly jumped in fright. He pointed at the bottom of the lake and took a few steps back. At the bottom of the clear lake, there were many corpses of celestial fairies floating in the air. They looked exactly like how they were when they were alive. Their faces were beautiful, and their skin was as white as snow. However, there was no sign of life at all. It was extremely strange. Immortal Burial Lake. Seeing this scene, Xiao Chun blurted out. Just as he finished speaking, he seemed a little confused. How did he know that this place was called the Celestial Burial Lake? It seemed like he had never seen such secrets or ancient records in hiding. Celestial Burial Lake? Hao Kai frowned slightly and muttered, "So, the legend is true." Xiao Sua asked curiously, "What legend?" Hao Kai looked at Xiao Chun and said, "Legend has it that before the Immortal epic ended, the supreme female immortal of the Immortal Court, Shi Wangmu, sensed a calamity descending. He couldn't bear to see his face ruined and his body destroyed, so he led a group of fairies to throw themselves into an immortal lake at the peak of Mount Kunlun, committing suicide. At that time, all the people of the Immortal Court saw this shocking scene. That was how Immortal Burial Lake got its name. Shi Wangmu's death by jumping into the lake also marked the beginning of the Immortal Epic's destruction. Shi Wangmu had been in existence equal to an immortal king during the Immortal Epic. Even the Martial Epic, one could find a few words about her in some hidden ancient texts. However, such a peerless and supreme Queen Mother of the West, in the face of the change of epics, was completely defeated. Similarly, he was helpless and chose to end his own life. Xiao Sua immediately trembled. Then, he said with some lingering fear, "That is to say, if not for Big Brother earlier, we would have gone down to accompany these immortal corpses. You are Shi Wangmu, and you are also at the bottom of this immortal burial lake?" Xiao Chen asked as he looked at Hao Kai. Hao Kai shook his head and replied, "I am not sure about that. I read about it in an ancient record. If not for Brother Xiao saying the words Immortal Burial Lake, I would not have remembered it." "Big Brother, how do you know about Immortal Burial Lake?" Xiao Chun showed a complicated expression. However, he could not answer Xiao Sua's question. Perhaps he had read about it in an ancient record before. However, he had forgotten about it, just like Hao Kai. Then he suddenly recalled it. "Let's not talk about this. Where are the others?" Xiao Chun looked around but did not see Chu Chaoyun, Yuan Zhen, or the others. There was no aura at all. Indeed, where did these people go? Did they all sink? At the mention of this, Xiao Sua and Hao Kai revealed doubtful expressions. The demon blood vulture turned into a small scarlet bird and landed on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Then it sent a voice projection. "Master, there seems to be a bewildering barrier here, something like an illusion. If we cannot break it, we will never be able to see the true scene." Xiao Chun entered deep thought as he looked at the indistinct immortal palace in the spiritual fog. He basically agreed with the demon blood vulture's opinion. "How do you know all this?" "I do not sense it. My clan has a similar place. The bewildering barrier is naturally formed by the world. There are no signs of formations at all. Unless one is prepared, no matter how high one's cultivation is, one will not be able to sense the bewildering barrier. Can you bring us through the bewildering barrier?" "How is that difficult?" "It is as simple as returning to myself." The demon blood vulture chuckled and turned into a flash of scarlet light, leading the way. Xiao Chen called out to Hao Kai and Xiao Sua. After some thought, he said, "Follow it." Under the demon blood vulture's lead, the three moved over the mirror-smooth lake surface, which gave off spiritual energy. The three did not dare to lower their heads. The female immortals swimming at the bottom of the lake not only looked the same, but also had their eyes open. As long as one lowered their head, countless pairs of eyes would stare at them. This feeling was bone-chilling. No one dared to look at them for too long. I broke through. After a while, the demon blood vulture suddenly spoke, and the three's eyes lit up. The ethereal immortal palace, hidden in the fog, stood before them in its complete form, reflecting the lake. Without the hazy fog, the perfect and flawless ethereal immortal palace lost some of its mystery and allure. However, it gained a bewitching air. It was as beautiful as a bewitching air. Whoosh! Many gazes looked at Xiao Chun and the others, showing shock in their eyes. These gazes belonged to Yin Songming, Yuan Zhen, Chu Chaoyun, and the others. They had broken through the bewildering barrier long ago. Xiao Chun immediately understood. These people clearly understood the ethereal immortal palace more than he did. These people had made preparations long ago and had supreme treasures for breaking through the bewildering barrier. After all, the super factions had participated in the sealing of the Wings of Time back then. They would have left behind some information. If the Blue Dragon bloodline had not gone extinct, Shao Chun would have obtained similar secrets. Shao Chun looked around and fixed his gaze on Chu Chaoyan. He also knew about the bewildering barrier. Chu Chaoyan felt somewhat embarrassed. When he saw Shao Chun's gaze, he turned his head and avoided it. Shao Chun smiled coldly in his heart. If not for the demon blood vulture, he would continue to be trapped in the bewildering barrier. With just one glance, these people's gazes returned to the ethereal Immortal Palace. All of them frowned and sighed softly. Hao Kai observed their expressions and roughly understood what was going on. After some thought, he said, "Without the inheritance key, no one can open this ethereal Immortal Palace. It looks like we made a wasted trip." Looking at the dispirited expressions of Yuan Zhen, Qin Ming, and the others, Shao Chun guessed that these people must have used some tricks. However, they could not open the ethereal Immortal Palace. They could only watch helplessly. "Brother Shao, everyone has already tried. No one can open the ethereal Immortal Palace. Do you want to try?" Shi, who stood with Ming Xian and Yang Qing in the distance, asked with a faint smile as he looked at Shao Chun. The others' gazes immediately landed on Shao Chun again. A bright light flashed in their eyes. This Shao Chun had done many startling things. He was also one of the people that the sovereign emperors present could not figure out. Perhaps he could open the ethereal Immortal Palace. Shao Chun knew that he did not understand the ethereal Immortal Palace as much as these people. Without the inheritance key, there was no other way to open the ethereal Immortal Palace. Shao Chun did not reply to Shi. He just sized up the ethereal Immortal Palace in a daze. At such a close distance, he was only 10 kilometers from the ethereal Immortal Palace. Now, he could clearly see every detail of the ethereal Immortal Palace. The shock and astonishment in his heart became even more exaggerated. This ethereal Immortal Palace was so perfect that it did not look like it came from a human. It was like a powerful treasure filled with boundless charm. However, something strange happened just at this moment. The calm lake suddenly started trembling. A terrifying existence was slowly awakening at the bottom of the lake. That strong aura surged out of the water, inspiring despair. The female immortal corpses floating at the bottom of the lake opened and closed their mouths, giving off strange sounds. If one listened carefully, one would hear the words Sky Dome Realm, Sky Dome Realm, Sky Dome Realm, Sky Dome Realm. Thousands of celestial voices gathered together. The expressions of the prodigies and outstanding talents on the lake changed drastically, and they all felt anxious and uneasy. In the face of this unknown and strange situation, he wasn't mentally prepared. Boom! The lake trembled even more intensely. Finally, it gave off a loud boom. The female immortal corpses floating at the bottom of the lake leaped out. If this were the immortal epic, this scene would be very alluring, like a fairy coming out of a bath. However, this was a group of flying immortal corpses. Chapter 23-28. Flying immortal corpses. The immortal corpses broke out of the calm, immortal lake. Plop, plop. Countless female immortal corpses broke out of the water like fish, dancing in the air. These female immortal corpses had agile figures, beautiful faces, and unmatched talent. Their skin was snow white and gentle like jade. They had all the beauty that women in the world envied. However, they did not have any life. Immediately, immortal corpses filled the air above Immortal Burial Lake, swimming like mermaids. Sky Dome, Sky Dome, Sky Dome. Deep, hoarse voices continuously came from the depths of the lake. The scene before them shocked Shao Chun, Yin Songming, Qin Ming, and the other outstanding talents. Their minds went blank for a moment. These were once immortal corpses that everyone looked up to, inviolable immortals. The lake water splashed and fell like rain. Everyone was at a loss. Suddenly, the eyes of these female immortal corpses turned scarlet at the same time, exuding overwhelming, killing chi. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Without giving Yin Songming and the others time to react, The immortal corpses swam in the air like mermaids and attacked them. Xiao Qian's expression changed slightly. The attacks of these immortal corpses were incredibly fast. In the blink of an eye, 3 immortal corpses charged at Xiao Qian. Their eyes were scarlet as they pounced over like wild beasts. Supreme Dragon Fist. Xiao Qian drove the 10,000 dragons art in his body, and a king's dragon might spread out from his body. A blue dragon image appeared behind him as he raised his hand and punched. Boom! The dragon image flickered as Xiao Qian punched with the aura of a prime. The fist light exploded, and dragon might spread out. Xiao Qian directly knocked back the 3 immortal corpses. This was much simpler than he expected. Xiao Qian easily knocked back the immortal corpses with just one punch, which stunned him slightly. However, when he saw the immortal corpses flying over at an even more horrifying speed, as if nothing had happened, his expression changed drastically. The Supreme Dragon Fist was the strongest offensive fist technique in the world. Furthermore, Xiao Qian drove it with the 10,000 Dragons Art's 3rd layer, which carried the king's blue dragon might. Even a great perfection sovereign emperor would find this punch unbearable. However, these immortal corpses were not damaged at all. Naturally, Xiao Qian was shocked and raised his guard. Bang! Bang! Xiao Qian continuously sent out the Supreme Dragon Fist. The immortal corpses that surrounded him could not get close at all. Xiao Qian also discovered that the attacks of these immortal corpses were completely disorganized. Aside from his incredible speed, he did not know any celestial arts, martial techniques, or magic treasures. He could only rely on his physical body. But that was enough. Before he died, he already had an immortal spirit body. After becoming an immortal corpse, his physical body would only be even more terrifying. Ordinary attacks would not be able to severely injure these immortal corpses, much less kill them. At present, there seemed to be no danger, but as time went on, it would be disastrous. No one would be able to leave this place alive. Not a single one of them would be able to leave. An unsolvable situation. Evidently, the other outstanding talents had also predicted this outcome. Their expressions all changed drastically. Damn it, what's going on with these immortal corpses? Qin Ming used the Emperor Dragon Fist to fight. Although there were no major problems, he gradually found it somewhat taxing. According to the information left behind by the Bushin Palace, the corpses of the immortals were indeed buried under the lake. However, they were all antiques from the previous epoch. They could not be any more dead, so there was no danger at all. If the ethereal immortal palace appeared, at most, one would not be able to enter because one did not have the inheritance key. Xiao Qian had never said that he would encounter such a desperate situation. How troublesome! Ming Xian frowned heavily as he watched the wounds on the immortal corpses slowly recover from the Buddhist sect's secret technique. The Buddhist sect's secret technique had a strong counter to corpses like zombies and desolate slaves. However, it did not seem to be as effective this time. Is it because they are all immortal spirit bodies? As Ming Xian blocked the immortal corpses' attacks, he calmly analyzed the situation to see if he could find the immortal corpses' weaknesses. Yuan Zhen, who sat on the lotus platform, held up a light barrier shining with Buddhist light. The immortal corpses continuously attacked the light barrier. Ripples and cracks appeared on the light barrier. Although the cracks were small and unnoticeable, they would break sooner or later. Yuan Zhen considered retreating. In any case, he could not open the ethereal immortal palace, so he might as well leave. The wings of time were crucial to the change of epochs. Naturally, it would be best to obtain them. However, if no one could obtain them, it would not be unacceptable. Yuan Zhen looked up at the sky, where a black hole swallowed up the sun. That was the passageway formed by the 7 keys. However, when Yuan Zhen looked at the densely packed immortal corpses in the air, he shook his head helplessly. Yin Songming, who was skilled in the Death Dao, originally felt happy. He wanted to use the Death Dao's mysteries to control these immortal corpses. If he succeeded, he would immediately be unrivaled in this place. He would no longer have to worry about a threat. However, when he tried, he discovered that the other party could swallow up his Death Dao. Even after Yin Songming's death, Dao invaded the other party's soul. He was so frightened that he no longer dared to try. On the other hand, she showed a rather relaxed expression. The blood dragon in his sage cloak circled him, dancing up and down. Its dragon head roared ferociously, and its scarlet claws moved like lightning. There was practically no need for she to make a move. Scarlet shadows surrounded him, forming an impenetrable defense. Bang! Xiao Chun attacked again, sending 3 immortal corpses flying. However, a group of them immediately appeared. Even though Xiao Chun did his best to dodge, several immortal corpses still managed to strike his alloy dragon armor with their palms or claws. Whoosh! Xiao Chun took 3 steps back. The alloy dragon armor absorbed most of the force for him, so his physical body did not suffer much damage. However, when Xiao Chun saw the few clear scratches on the alloy dragon armor, he still sucked in a breath of cold air. Even spirit tools could not leave marks on the alloy dragon armor. Demon Blood Vulture, go and try swallowing one. Xiao Chun had already sensed the horror of this group of immortal corpses. He placed his right hand on the scabbard of the tyrant saber on his back. Master, I can't. This group of women have terrifying death spirit chi on them. I can't swallow them. The demon blood vulture's body trembled, revealing the fear in its heart. To think that even the demon blood vulture, which dares to swallow anything, is afraid. What exactly are the origins of this group of immortal corpses? Whoosh! Suddenly, Xiao Chen's entire body froze. His pores opened up as a terrifying gaze stared at him. The thing that Xiao Chen feared the most happened. The terrifying existence at the bottom of the lake, which kept shouting for the Sky Dome Immortal Lord, finally targeted Xiao Chun. All this while, Xiao Chun did not want to associate this voice with the Sky Dome Immortal Lord. Xiao Chun had just arrived at this strange place when the words Immortal Burial Lake came out of his mouth for no reason. This made him feel that something was wrong. Then, the group of immortal flying corpses cried out in unison. This deepened Xiao Chen's suspicions. He kept his guard up, hoping that it was just a coincidence. However, it looked like Xiao Chen was overthinking. The terrifying existence at the bottom of the lake came for him. The group of immortal flying corpses also appeared because of him. Oh no! Feeling that the monster at the bottom of the lake was about to attack, Xiao Chen let go and switched to his saber, preparing to take out Heavenly Slayer. However, before Xiao Chen could let go, the horrifying existence at the bottom of the lake pulled him down. With a splash, he dove into the bottom of the lake. Big brother! Xiao Sua's expression changed dramatically. He waved the Scarlet Blood War banner in his hand and sent it flying, sending the immortal corpses flying. Without even thinking, Xiao Sua prepared to jump down after Xiao Chen. I can't. Just as Xiao Sua was about to sink to the bottom of the lake, Hao Kai fished him up. Hao Kai demanded angrily, "Are you crazy? The surface of this immortal burial lake is the line of life and death. Life at the surface and death at the bottom. It does not matter if you're a sovereign emperor or a faux god. Even immortals cannot avoid it." But big brother, he got pulled down. Xiao Sua appeared somewhat flustered, his voice trembling as he spoke. The sudden change immediately attracted the attention of several people. To think that Xiao Chen slipped up and got pulled down to the bottom of the lake by the immortal corpses. This was too strange. Some of Xiao Chen's enemies were present. However, they did not feel happy in their hearts. Even they could hold on. Given Xiao Chen's strength, how did he get pulled down to the bottom of the lake? Dead? Qin Ming showed a stunned expression, feeling somewhat flabbergasted. They had heard of the legend of Immortal Burial Lake before. Life at the surface and death at the bottom. Life and death were separated by a thin line. Once one crossed that line, even an immortal would die. Strange. The more they thought about it, the stranger it became. Panic and fear stirred in their hearts. When people faced the unknown, they would always feel fear. However, the attacks of the immortal corpses did not stop because of Xiao Chen's strange sinking into the lake. The danger that this group faced had not been resolved yet. They might end up like Xiao Chen at any moment. Crack! Just as everyone felt worried, confused, and horrified, a melodious sound suddenly came from the ethereal Immortal Palace. Suddenly, a crisp sound came from the ethereal Immortal Palace. This sound was like the most beautiful music in the world. In an instant, everyone's gazes were attracted to him. They saw someone push open the doors of the ethereal Immortal Palace, which everyone had used countless means but could not open. We finally came out. Lin Feng, who was covered in wounds, showed a relaxed expression as he carried the half-dead Jiang He on his back and appeared at the ethereal Immortal Palace's doors. The scene of flying immortal corpses, which looked like 10,000 demons dancing around, stunned Lin Feng. The instant Lin Feng's hand touched Jiang he was transported to a dangerous land filled with ancient era's immortal birds and great desolate Aeon ferocious beasts. Lin Feng, who could barely handle the situation in the first place, had to take care of Jiang He. One could easily imagine how miserable he was. However, this dangerous land was like a maze. He could not find the exit. When Lin Feng finally found the exit after much difficulty, he saw the immortal corpses, Yin Songming, and the other outstanding talents in sorry state surrounded. Despair involuntarily welled up in the depths of Lin Feng's heart. The doors are open. Before Lin Feng could react, the eyes of the people fighting the immortal corpses blazed with a frenzied flame. They instantly brought out their various Dao domains. Then, the group charged towards the ethereal Immortal Palace's entrance at an incredible speed without any regard for their lives. Chapter 23-29. At the entrance of the ethereal Immortal Palace, Lin Yun cursed and quickly dodged when he saw the crowd charging over. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yuan Zhen rode on his lotus platform, bathing in a Buddhist light as he led the charge in. Before entering, Yuan Zhen glanced at Lin Feng. After hesitating for half a second, Yuan Zhen directly charged in, ignoring Lin Feng. Indeed, Lin Feng and Jiang He suddenly appeared in the ethereal Immortal Palace and pushed open the doors while everyone was in despair. No matter how one looked at it, this was extremely strange. Naturally, it would be for the best if one could capture these two calmly. However, even if one delayed, it did not mean that others would be delayed. If one delayed, one would lose the initiative. One wrong step and lose everything. Following that, the Silver Dragon King, Wan Rinyu, and the others charged into the ethereal Immortal Palace. Some glanced at Lin Feng, and some ignored him. The doors were already open. Nothing was more important than charging into the ethereal Immortal Palace. However, some people did not want to let Lin Feng and Jiang He off. Whoosh, whoosh. Xi's group of three blocked Lin Feng and the unconscious Jiang He, showing malicious intent in their eyes. However, Xi attacked without saying a word. The scarlet dragon images circling around Xiao Chun roared ferociously at Lin Feng at lightning speed. The scarlet dragon image carried the horrifying demonic might of a dynasty as it charged over in Lin Feng's eyes. In Lin Feng's vision, this scarlet dragon image was vast and boundless, exuding an overwhelming aura. Lin Feng, who had already fought a bitter battle in the ethereal Immortal Palace, showed a troubled expression when he faced this attack. Even if he could receive it, he would definitely be severely injured. At that time, he would be captured. Naturally, the best choice was to give up on Jiang He and leave alone. Just as Lin Feng felt troubled, a figure shielded him and swung his sword without hesitation. Everlasting primal chaos. Qi. The scarlet dragon image clashed with the sword light and quickly sliced it in half. How strong? Lin Feng felt startled. The person in front of him actually broke the scarlet dragon image with one sword strike. Whoosh! The two halves of the scarlet dragon image returned to Xi's side and reformed. Xi, don't be so ruthless, Chu Chaoyan said as he looked at Xi's group of three. Xi smiled faintly and said indifferently, "Don't you want to know how he entered the ethereal Immortal Palace?" Chu Chaoyan said expressionlessly, "I'm more concerned about whether you can catch up to the others if you continue to delay." Xi's expression suddenly turned gloomy when he finished speaking. If it weren't for Chu Chaoyan's interference, he wouldn't have needed to waste so much time. with his strength. It wouldn't have taken much effort at all. I'll let you escape last time, but you're getting bolder and bolder. Murderous intent accumulated in Shi's eyes, and his expression flickered, making him unfathomable. Although you are strong, I have never truly feared you. No one here understands you better than I do. Chu Chaoyan remained calm and collected. He did not show the slightest bit of fear in the face of the other party's threat. So. Right at this moment, two figures flew over. It was Xiao Suo and Hao Kai. "Brother Chu, do you need help?" Xiao Suo asked softly as she held the Scarlet Blood War banner and landed beside Chu Chaoyan. "Let's go." Upon seeing Xiao Suo and Hao Kai arrive, she withdrew his aura and left decisively. As everyone watched the three leave, they heaved a sigh of relief. Shi's strength was too unfathomable. No one could lower their guard against him. Chu Chaoyan glanced at the many immortal corpses surrounding them. He frowned and said, "Let's go to the ethereal immortal palace first. These immortal corpses don't seem to dare to enter. We can't go in. The ancient immortal beasts and great desolate Ian ferocious beasts are even more horrifying." When Lin Feng heard that they were about to enter the ethereal immortal palace again, he immediately recalled the horrifying experience from before. No matter how horrifying it is, it won't be as horrifying as this place. "Let's go in first," Hao Kai said with lingering fear as he looked at the immortal corpses. Whoosh! The group ascended the ethereal immortal palace's entrance. Indeed, the immortal corpses that chased after them did not advance any further. "I'm going in. Do you want to come with me?" Chu Chaoyan asked as he looked at Xiao Suo and Hao Kai. He definitely had to fight for the wings of time and could not remain here. "There's no need." Xiao Suo shook his head and said resolutely, "We have to wait here for Brother Xiao Chun." "Very well, you can stay here then. However, I want to take this person away." Chu Chaoyan's gaze fell on Jianghe. His expression did not change, but his words shocked everyone. He wanted to take Jianghe away. "You are indeed not a good person," Xiao Suo said with a cold gaze as his figure flashed, shielding Jianghe and Lin Feng. Chu Chaoyan had a deep gaze as he said after some thought, "He is the crux of the wings of time. I have to take him away. However, I guarantee that I will not harm his life." "Do you think that I will let you take him away?" Xiao Suo showed a cold smile as he looked at Chu Chaoyan with murderous intent in his eyes. "That is not up to you." Right after Xiao Suo spoke, Chu Chaoyan's figure turned blurry. The space where he was turned chaotic, making it impossible for anyone to catch him. "Where is he?" Hao Kai and Xiao Suo charged forward. However, they could not find Chu Chaoyan at all, greatly startling them. Whoosh! A beam of light flashed, and Chu Chaoyan carried the unconscious Jianghe as he dashed past the two. "Damn it!" After him, the three of them cursed and rushed forward. Chu Chaoyan, who moved with the wind, looked back at the cloud-like figure in front. A golden light flickered in Chu Chaoyan's eyes, and golden flames surged out, forming a sea of fire that blocked the three. "It's the universe origin true flame." Hao Kai sucked in a breath of cold air. He stretched out his hands and blocked Xiao Suo and Lin Feng. "Why are you stopping? That fellow is already far away." Xiao Suo raged. While he looked crude and rash as he walked on the sea, he had a forthright and righteous nature. In Xiao Suo's heart, righteousness always took precedence. He would never forget the kindness of others. Xiao Chun gave him everything he had. Without Xiao Chun, Xiao Suo would not have obtained the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's inheritance or reached his current height. That Xiao Chun was Xiao Suo's benefactor. Hence, Xiao Suo was willing to do anything for Xiao Chun without hesitation. Such a person hated betrayal the most. He could not even tolerate a sesame-sized stain. If Xiao Suo could, he would have killed Chu Chaoyan right now. He had come over to help Chu Chaoyan deal with Shi in vain. In the end, it turned out that this fellow was a liar, no different from Shi. Lin Feng's gaze turned grave as he looked at the blazing golden flame. Fear flashed in his eyes. This is the universe origin true flame that surpasses rank 9. It already comes in contact with the universe origin true flame's origin. If we charge over rashly, we will die a miserable death. Hao Kai said after some thought. Unexpectedly, there is such a strong person hidden beside us. He is not much weaker than she. However, I have a way to deal with this flame. How? Fight fire with fire. Boom! A resplendent flame blazed around Hao Kai's body. The solar true flame blazed fiercely. Hao Kai wanted to use his solar true flame to burn away all of Chu Chaoyun's universe origin true flame. Although the other party's flame was stronger than Hao Kai's, Chu Chaoyun was already far away. If Hao Kai continued to use his soul energy to control the solar true flame, he would eventually be able to burn away the sea of fire before him. However, it would take some time. After shaking off Xiao Sua's group, Chu Chaoyun continued running without stopping. Everywhere Xiao Sua passed were the corpses of ancient immortal beasts and great desolate Ian ferocious beasts. Yuan Zhen, the Silver Dragon King, and the others, who led the way, must have brought out all their trump cards. The dirty blood had dyed the beautiful jade-like palace walls and the ground bright red. However, the strange thing was that as the blood seeped into the jade, the glow of the palace walls and floor became even brighter. Chu Chaoyun did not go far before he stopped with a slight frown. Then, a person walked out from a corner in front, smiling at Chu Chaoyun. This was the Xiuwu dynasty's Shi. A strange look flashed in Chu Chaoyun's eyes. After some thought, he said, "It looks like you guessed it as well. The so-called inheritance key is Jiang, he himself." She smiled faintly and said, "I can only say that the previous generation Heaven Dragon's means are indeed brilliant. Normally, Jiang He is Jiang He. When the Heaven Dragon brings out his mysteries, he will activate the inheritance key hidden in his body, bringing out the ethereal, immortal palace." "What are you trying to do?" Chu Chaoyun asked, not saying anything more. "Naturally, I'm trying to extract the inheritance key from his body. Don't you want to? You have a deep understanding of me. How can I not guess your background?" "Hee hee. Actually, I should have appeared at the banquet and waited for you to kill him to obtain the inheritance key." She narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled playfully. "There's no need to pretend. You and I are the same kind of person. It just so happens that the two of us can work together to break the previous generation Heaven Dragon's restrictions. After we obtain the inheritance key, we can fight for it with our strength." Chu Chaoyun showed a smile on his face, showing a mocking expression in his eyes. "I never thought of killing him. It looks like you do not understand me. Move aside."